eligible special needs plan. Most plans include the Humana Healthy Options Allowance, a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items. The Healthy Options Allowance is loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend carries over from each month. Plus, your doctor, hospital, and pharmacy may already be part of our large Humana networks. So call the number on your screen now and ask about a Humana Medicare Advantage dual eligible special needs plan. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
You know, the last story we talked about, so many small business owners I know actually give back to the community. There's a restaurant in Harlem called Jacob's. He actually feeds people who couldn't actually go away to be with their family during Thanksgiving and Christmas, as well as homeless people. So when you give back, the community will give back to you.
Yeah, and we love highlighting stories like that. So you can always write into us and let us know about other small businesses that are doing the same, but it's important to
wake up to Friends in the Morning, Perry and Jerry, weekdays on Mornings on the Dove, encouraging and informative, the Dove TV.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday to you. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. This is the place. And Jerry is the person. The rest of us here are just shadow servants. Make him look good.
Oh boy, good.
And it takes 9 of us to do that.
Takes even more at home.
Oh, there you go. Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. As we are starting to see the temperature kind of go back up a little bit, but still cool at night. Boy, it's very pleasant.
Yeah, down to the 50s tonight.
Last night,
Yeah.
Well, listen, the headlines, you know, it's so interesting when you track this stuff and then 10 minutes later you come back and something else has popped up in first place.
Yeah.
So we'll try our best to get you caught up on some of the stories. It's pretty amazing what's going on in some of these things. In the meantime, nice weather. It is summer. The fair was successful here in our own backyard.
Yeah.
So a lot going on there. Did you buy a pig?
I did not, but I'll be buying some. Probably food for less later.
Yeah, when you see the little picture up there, you know. The blue ribbon and the little girl crying.
You know, I always stop and look. I do. Everyone.
That's the one you want to buy.
Okay.
Anyway, good morning to you. Anything special?
Yeah, time to take a nap. It's National Hammock Day, a perfect way to take a nap in the shade on a summer day. The hammock dates back thousands of years to Central America, where it protected people and creatures from dirt. However, the netted bedding didn't find European explorers until they brought it back in the 17th century. And of course, not long after that, the hammock found its way onto naval ships, providing comfort and maximizing space. So, do you have a hammock?
Well, I used to. They are terrific. They also are dangerous.
Well, they can be. I see a lot of hammock fails.
Yeah, you can get flipped out of them.
Oh, yes.
But I do say this. I have gone in where I've had a good meal somewhere, and they say, anything else you can get me? And I'll say a hammock.
Hammock, yeah.
You know? And so I think some restaurants, especially, restaurants that have great outdoor settings, they should have some hammocks out there.
Hammocks, yes.
You know, when you're in a food coma, go sleep it off for a minute, you know.
Why not? Okay. Well, if you have one, enjoy it. It's also National Mango Day.
Mango.
I didn't realize this. Hundreds of varieties of mangoes grow around the world. And on average, a mango tree can grow up to 131 feet tall. Mango trees are also long living trees, some as old as 300 years old. And in addition, mango fruit comes in different sizes, colors, sweetness, depending on the cultivator. Okay. So how about that? Do you like mangoes?
Sometimes.
I don't know the health benefits of mangoes. I'm sure they are, you know.
I like them in a slushy or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I've had them. They're okay. I've had them.
I'm drinking a sparkling water that is mango orange, naturally essenced. And you know, I'm trying to figure out what does that word essence to mean. It's like it says right on the bottle.
Did you buy the ad or what?
Essence. So now I'm essenced with mango and orange.
Well, let's just have a little mango essence.
But
here.
of course,
Yeah.
yes, it's also National Panucci Fudge Day. Now, it's recognizing a creamy candy with an Italian name, and if you like maple flavor, this nut-filled fudge is for you. Panucci is pronounced just like that, Panucci, even though it looks like it's Panuccia. It has Portuguese origins, becoming popular in New England around the 1700s among Portuguese whaling families. The sweet treat is considered the oldest fudge ever created.
Really?
Yes, it includes brown sugar, butter, vanilla, and milk. Some people add pecans or other nuts, especially if making a candy in the form of a panucci. It is lighter in color than traditional fudge, and it tastes like maple thanks to the brown sugar. I don't know if I've ever had panucci fudge.
You may have, just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, that could be.
I don't like fudge that has too much sugar in it. You know what I mean? Where you can actually see it and feel it and taste it.
Right, and
Yeah.
in fact, there are some fudges that are so sweet it makes the inside of my mouth tingle. I mean, that tingle thing is actually kind of a fun sensation, though. I kind of like it.
Okay.
Okay, but, of course, everything that you put in your mouth, guess what you have to deal with? You have to deal with it with your tongue. Did you know, look at this, did you know that your tongue is the only muscle in your body that is only attached at one end? Every other muscle in your body is actually attached to your skeletal system, and your tongue is the only one that moves independently of your skeletal system. It is connected to your hyoid bone, located in your neck, by a group of muscles, and apart from its remarkable flexibility and strength, the tongue is also involved in various essential functions. Its primary roles include taste perception, swallowing, and speech production. And when it comes to that, you know what I have found out? That my tongue sometimes is faster than my brain. Especially when I'm talking to Pam.
Do you know what the Bible says about your tongue?
What does the Bible say about
It's the
it?
most unruly member.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
The Bible says the tongue is the most unruly member.
Okay. I believe it.
And, can you bridle it at times?
That is a challenge. And I don't know about you, but there are times in my life where I have to actively make myself shut up.
Yeah, it's a...
Just shut up, Jerry.
One of the
Sit
gifts.
there.
There's 9 fruits and 9 gifts. One of the 9 fruits is self-control.
Okay, well, you have a tongue. Control it. And have a good Tuesday.
Okay, here's a guy that's high on mango essence.
A look at our weather from Grange Co-op. With clear skies and temperatures starting to move back up, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny skies with daytime highs in the mid-80s for Vancouver and Portland and mid to upper 80s in Wilsonville and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a calm wind becoming north-northwest around 6 miles per hour this afternoon. More sunshine across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the mid-80s for Prineville, low 80s in Bend and near 79 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly sunny with a high this afternoon near 87. Early patchy fog along the Oregon coast, then clearing to sunny to mostly sunny skies with daytime highs in the mid to upper 60s for Coos Bay and Port Orford and mid-50s in Brookings. In Crescent City, mostly sunny and near 70. In southern Oregon, sunny with a chance of afternoon thunderstorm activity and daytime highs in the low 90s for Grants Pass and Medford and low to mid 80s for Ashland and Klamath Falls with a light west wind this afternoon. Into northern California, sunny with a chance of thunderstorms around Wairika and a high near 87. Sunny with highs in the mid 80s for Redding and Chico. Partly sunny in Sacramento with a high in the upper 70s. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then partly sunny in upper 60s in Santa Rosa. Partly sunny with a high near 69 in Napa. A slight chance of drizzle in San Francisco, then mostly cloudy, breezy in mid-60s. And today in San Jose, decreasing clouds in mid-70s. Your Tuesday weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, and a beautiful Tuesday morning sunrise. Not quite up yet. The whole valley's still a little bit in the shadow. And clear blue skies, so we'll enjoy a sunrise here in a few moments.
Well, in looking at Joseph's brother's treatment of him.
Ooh.
Dr. David Jeremiah illustrates one of life's lessons.
Don't make yourself better than you should be when you're doing something you shouldn't do. The power of envy, the pretense of morality, and the penalty of sin. Sin always hurts people, even when we can't see the hurt right away. The brothers' sin hurt Joseph, making him a slave and causing him to be separated from his brothers and his father for 20 years. It hurt Jacob, who thought his son was dead and grieved all those years for Joseph. But most of all, that sin hurt the brothers. As the memory of that wicked day replayed over and over in their minds, we shouldn't fool ourselves into thinking we can get away with sin. Everybody pays the penalty. And there's a verse in the Bible that says this: be sure your sin will find you out. I've been watching this now for over half a century, and I can promise you, it's pretty accurate. Hardly anybody gets away over a long period of time with things like what the brothers did. They carried it in their heart, and it destroyed their ability to sleep at night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So what are you carrying in your heart today? And are you sleeping at night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you have some, what do you call those fruit you're looking at?
Oh, mango?
Mango essence.
Oh, gosh.
Maybe it'll make you sleep better.
Yeah, that could be.
All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at some of the top stories this morning, and there's a variety of them. First of all, some things I really don't want to get into deeply, and it's high probability you already know about this. Hunter Biden went off on a rant yesterday.
Oh, boy.
And it was just X-rated.
Oh, it was.
And you look at this and you go, why are you in the news? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
What was the outcome of this? And
right.
But he obviously knows one word, and it is the word that he uses for everything, for nouns and verbs and everything else, and adjectives.
Oh, yes.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing is that the president did file a $10 billion lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal.
Oh, he did. Oh, I didn't see it. Oh.
So $10 billion. Now, does that remind you what he did to CBS?
100%. Yes.
He filed, I think it was a $10 billion thing against CBS.
I think it was 20.
Oh, 20. You're
Yeah,
right. Okay,
yeah.
so anyway, what happens with this thing? And basically what the president's saying is they printed a story that they can't verify. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens here? This will put the whole world on tilt. We'll see where this goes, and it goes to a judge, and then it gets appealed and all this nonsense. But it'll work its way through the court.
Yeah.
Okay. The other story is that the president last night is pulling the United States out of the United Nations Educational and Scientific and Cultural Organization, which is an adjunct to the UN.
Okay.
Is this the beginning?
Oh, I wonder. Is this preview of coming attractions?
Well, it is clearly a part of the UN that is just way out there.
Yeah.
And it's you talk about wokeness. I mean, it's more than wokeness. It's just it primarily being driven by all kinds of things. I would say climate change is probably one of the big motivators behind it.
Yes.
So
100%.
the president is pulling the United States out of that part of the UN. Is this the beginning? We'll have to wait and see. Okay. In the meantime, Iran's foreign minister gave a exclusive interview to Bret Baier, a special report on Fox News. Now, he didn't go anywhere else. He just went there.
Okay.
Of course, the question came up, do you still want to enrich uranium for nuclear use? Okay. Now, you want to hear something?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to ask you one question when it's over.
Okay.
Okay, listen to this.
Is an achievement of our own scientists, and now more than that, it is a question of national pride. Our enrichment is so dear to us. We are ready to engage into negotiation to make sure that our enrichment is only for peaceful purposes. We prefer a negotiated solution.
Right.
We are not ready to give up something which is now a matter of dignity for the Iranian people, a matter of national pride. So rest assured that we want to continue our enrichment, but of course we prefer a negotiated, solution for that.
My question is,
Okay.
do you believe it?
Nope.
Okay, so why should we?
We shouldn't.
Because there is no track record of anything they say that comes about.
Absolutely. Yep.
So it also, I guess this is politics at high stake games where you take the foreign minister of Iran, we just, bomb the pants off of him over there.
Yeah.
And then they're going to come over here and say, well, have a nice day, but we're going to continue. So is this an invite to finish the job?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll see if it does happen. And I think that where this will go, just my guess. I'm not inside until I know nothing other than, you and I are just two crazy guys in small town America talking on television.
Early in the morning.
Early in the morning. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but I think the United States says to Israel, go in, finish it.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Okay, so they're telling you what their plans are. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is the president now vows to no more federal funds to Harvard.
Yes. Yes.
So Harvard is not going to get their $2.6 billion in research funding. It's being cut by the Trump administration.
And boy, are they fighting for it. They're in court right now.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You have any idea how much money Harvard is sitting on in the bank before a student even pays a tuition bill?
Not the slightest inclination. I have no idea.
Are you sitting down?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Is your leg okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Is there anything in front of it? So when I tell you it doesn't
shoot straight out, doesn't kick it. Okay. No, it looks.
Harvard is sitting on $52 billion in the bank.
Wow. Wow.
And a lot of that is, endowments, but a lot of it's money from the government for programs that has just been banked. Okay. Now, will Harvard get the message? I don't know. So Harvard is suing the administration, saying, no, we need our $2.6 billion because we need it for research. Well, reach into the bank and get it.
And get it, right. Yes.
Okay, so this is going to be an interesting twist. Let's see how this goes, okay? In the meantime, the only other story that's brewing is that the Epstein, the Epstein story is still very much in the news. And the president has instructed Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, to send the grand jury testimony to the court to be released. Now, somewhere in there, this popped up last night. I don't know how this works, so I guess I got to plead ignorance here. The House has to vote on it.
Oh.
I'm trying to think, okay, what?
Yeah.
I'm confused now.
Yeah, me too.
And so Speaker Johnson said, no, we're not going to hold the vote until after the recess, the summer recess. So it's been delayed again.
Well.
In the meantime, apparently an assistant attorney general in the DOJ has announced that they're going to go into prison and interview Maxwell.
Okay.
To see if she wants to talk. I don't know if a deal can be made. It wasn't made during the trial. She's a convicted felon. Okay. Can they commune her sentencing by making a plea deal where she can't plead the fifth, but she can go and testify? And what would be the motive for doing it? Well, there's a huge motive for doing that. Getting out of jail.
Yeah, right. And what would be the motive for the government?
Well, I think the motive for the government, well, it's the motive for the Trump administration. Why would the Trump administration say, all right, take the grand jury testimony and release it to the public?
Yes.
If there was look, the president and the administration knows everything about that testimony. If there was anything in there that was condemning to him and his administration or his friends, he'd probably do the dance with everybody else.
You're right.
But he's saying, no, send it over, release it.
Okay. I'm wondering if they're willing to maybe strike a deal with her now. She was prosecuted under which administration?
Biden.
So why didn't they reach out to her then? Was it because they feared what she might divulge, or was she the only prosecutable person left to go after on this case after he committed suicide?
That's part of the problem. She was the only one
She's
left.
the only one left.
Okay.
Right.
But there is a huge motive here for her to have a free life.
What?
Testify.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get your sentencing
right
wiped out. And so anyway, they're going to go talk to her, and I guess they're going to determine there if it's worth maybe working with the courts to do this. Because if is she the book? Maybe she's the little black book, and I think she is.
You know, that's a good point. Yeah.
She's
Could
the
be.
list.
Right, she could be.
So anyway, I think a lot of people have got to be shaking in their boots.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and so I asked the question, why are some high-profile people here and there starting to just slip away from public life?
Oh.
We've seen some interesting resignations lately.
Yeah.
I know that sounds very conspiratorial, but this story now, I think that the liberals are going to be a little embarrassed because the president's hiding nothing. He's saying, open the book.
Right.
Send it to the public.
Yeah.
Go for it. And by the way, 60 years later, he's doing it with the JFK files. He's doing it with the Martin Luther King files.
Right.
And he's doing it with the Robert Kennedy files.
Yes.
All three of those files, which are 60, almost 70 years old, have passed the statute of limitations.
Yeah.
And he's saying, put it out there. Now, the Martin Luther King family was a little annoyed at first, but now they understand that there's no way they can avoid it, so they're just asking for privacy.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, good point.
Anyway, there's some of your top stories here. And otherwise, what's the Pope doing in Oregon?
Say what?
Say what? He's having a mango. We'll be right back.
Keep moving on. Keep your eyes on the prize. And that word in your heart, yeah, we'll be all right.
Grange Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Live the adventure with Hellgate Jet Boat Excursions. Discover your wild side in the heart of the Pacific Northwest with Hellgate's high-speed spins, stunning Rogue River scenery, and incredible wildlife sightings. It's an experience like no other. Plus, you can enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, a place where families connect, friends unite, and the river brings it all to life. Visit Hellgate.com to book your adventure. Hellgate Jet Boat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Perry Atkinson.
I learned this from the late Rush Limbaugh. I interviewed Rush Limbaugh a couple of weeks before we moved to Southern Oregon in 1983. And I asked Rush Limbaugh the question, I said, what is the key to your program? And he said two things. He said, one is be comfortable in making fun of yourself and having a good time. And the other one is, when you have a guest on, remember they're the star, you're not. It always stuck with me. Okay, good morning, y'all. How y'all doing out there? Are you doing okay? Okay, well, good morning. 22 past the hour on a beautiful Tuesday morning, and a little bit of Oregon interesting story. Pope Leo the 14th appoints a new bishop for Catholics in Central and Eastern Oregon. He has appointed 47-year-old Reverend Thomas Hennon. And he'll become, listen to this, the youngest bishop in the United States. To lead that diocese out there. He's also has experience with ministries for the LGBTQ. Now, I'll explain that in just a moment. Okay. He accepted the position. He's taking over one of the largest areas. However, it's only home to around 35,000 Catholics. So it's a big geographic area, but a small population area, okay? And at 47, he now becomes the youngest bishop in the United States to lead a diocese, okay? Now, he replaces Bishop Liam Carey. Now, Bishop Carey, he was Father Carey here when he was in Medford. He and I got along great. He is a wonderful guy.
All right.
And then he became bishop. Now, the interesting thing about leadership in the Catholic Church, you're at the will of the Pope and the bishop and everything else. They can move you around.
Sure.
trading cars at the car lot. So, and I say that respectfully. But so I don't know what happens to him. Hopefully I'll find out where he ends up going. But he's been great. He was a great servant here in Southern Oregon. Then he went on to become the bishop of that diocese. So back to Hennon, who's the new guy. Apparently he has worked with the LGBTQ and reached out to them to minister to them. And in doing so, he has said to them that you must remain abstinent.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now, you may identify with all of those acronyms, okay?
Yeah.
But you have to be celibate in your relationships. And that was his entry into ministering to them. So it sounds like to me where he was trying to show compassion, but with biblical standards.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't go from first base to home plate. You don't hit the ball and then stay at home plate and call it a home run.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to go around the bases.
You got to actually go around. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And I think that from what I understand and I've read, that now Bishop Hennon's approach to this is you start with reaching out to them.
Okay.
And then giving them a condition by which they'll be recognized in the church. And the first one is you have to be abstinent. So I thought, well, that's an interesting approach.
It is an interesting approach, and it'd be interesting to see how it is received.
Well, I tell you this, he is in a redneck district.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
All right.
He's out there in Eastern Oregon.
Oh, I like that.
He may be the first bishop that wears a cowboy hat. Okay.
Does he have boots under those robes?
He could be wearing boots.
Okay.
And spurs when he does, mass in the morning. And so we'll see what happens.
All right. Oh,
well, the
golly.
next story is really, really sad.
Yeah.
And Malcolm Warner, who was Theo on the Cosby Show, better known as the Huxtable shows, was vacationing in Costa Rica and got caught in a riptide and pulled out and drowned at the age of 54. He leaves a family behind. This is really sad.
Yeah.
If there's anybody that played his role perfectly, he did.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And if you look back on some of the things that he did, he went on and he was an accomplished actor in other roles.
Yeah, and director, yeah.
And director.
Yeah.
But his role on The Cosby Show and the situations they put him in were hilarious.
Yes.
But they all had a point.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when he got the earring. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
And they were in the bedroom and he wouldn't let his dad see it.
Yeah. Yes.
And so it got infected, and his dad being the doctor.
Of course, yes, of course.
Anyway, thoughts and prayers to his family, but that is very, very sad. A couple of people got caught in this riptide. They were down vacation, if you can imagine this, vacationing. He gets pulled out, and apparently, from what I understand, he was fighting it, which you don't do. You let it take you out.
You go with it.
You go with it.
Right.
And then you swim parallel to it.
Right.
Try to go either way, but don't fight it.
Yeah.
And but anyway, unfortunately, he lost his life at the age of 54. So thoughts and prayers to them. So really kind of sad news today. All right, let's take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's going on out there. We do have some changing weather, and we've enjoyed some cool weather. It'll start to warm up a little bit for the next couple of days, and then back down a little bit as we head towards the weekend.
But sunny throughout.
Yeah.
It's going to be sunny. You don't see any clouds coming our way, but you are absolutely right. Up into the low 90s tomorrow, and then by the weekend, sliding back down into the 80s, perhaps even mid-80s. So not bad. Well, the Texas Department of Public Safety Lieutenant Christopher Olivares discusses the shooting of an off-duty border agent in New York City by an illegal migrant on Fox Business Mornings with Maria.
Well, good morning, Cheryl. So first off, when I saw this video, it's very disturbing to see the fact that a off-duty CBP agent was attacked, was shot in the face, and also just the courage that this agent had just to return fire and shoot one of the suspects and be able to identify one of the suspects, as you just showed right there, with a lengthy criminal background. It really shows the result of catch and release policies from the last 4 years. Where I live in the Rio Grande Valley, we had just several weeks ago, there was several Border Patrol agents that were ambushed going to work at a Border Patrol station in McAllen, Texas. And I think this really just shows the escalation of violence towards agents, whether they're ICE agents, Border Patrol agents, or law enforcement in general, that are actually enforcing laws when it pertains to immigration or even criminal legal immigration. When it comes to us, as far as a state police agency, we have not seen any violence towards our troopers. But again, we are not out of the clear as we're seeing right now how the violence has been able to escalate. Even back last month when we had these protests and riots in LA, that violence escalated from rocks to bottles to now we're actually agents and law enforcement is being shot at. So again, it goes back also to the rhetoric that's being used, those that oppose any type of immigration, legal immigration, criminal immigration, those that are opposed to ICE agents, those that are opposed to enforcing the rule of law. When you have those individuals that are radicalized and that are looking at these elected officials making these just very disturbing and dangerous statements towards agents, it's going to escalate that violence, and we're seeing that right now. But I can tell you for a fact in Texas, as far as Texas law enforcement, we are committed to protecting and supporting our ICE agents, our Border Patrol agents. That's one thing that our Governor Abbott made very clear is that zero tolerance in Texas. We are a law and order state, and we will hold anybody accountable and hold them to the extent of the law if they attack or even threat any type of law enforcement officer. That's including ICE agents or Border Patrol agents.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Holman said he wanted to just flood the state now with ICE agents over this. I don't know, tit for tat. We've got to be careful here. But I think the message is, look, we're in another era. We either going to restore law and order or not. And I realize there's a few that get caught in the middle. I get that, and that has to be looked at. But at the end of the day, we have made a huge change in how we're dealing with the border and illegals, and it needs to be addressed. And so, but this incident, oh my stars, it's horrible.
Well, New York policy has to be looked at as well. Do you know that they have arrested this guy 4 different times?
Gosh. And
released every single time without bail? Not kidding you.
Well, it just shows you the craziness of
Absolutely.
Yeah, all of a sudden, everybody needs some mango essence. I think it's the big calming factor. Oh, you're using it. Oh, gosh. Ma'am, I'm sorry. Did he take his meds this morning? We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Since 1987, Four Seasons Nursery has been the gold standard in the green industry here in Southern Oregon. Tim Albert and his friendly staff continue to offer the best plants and most accurate knowledge to create your dream landscape. At Four Seasons Nursery on Crater Lake Avenue, you can let your imagination run wild with a huge selection of all things plant and gardening for both inside and outside beautification. Whether it's a flower for your windowsill, one of our beautifully renowned signature hanging baskets, or a complete landscape design for your entire property, Four Seasons Nursery can help you every step of the way with design services, workshops, and more. Let your imagination run wild as you immerse yourself in their nursery filled with beauty that knows no bounds. Four Seasons Nursery, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 1/2 mile north of Vilas Road, 541-779-5603, 541-779-5603.
In doing 21,000 interviews, you cover multiple topics. Alan Dershowitz, George W. Bush, Rush Limbaugh, David Limbaugh, Franklin Graham, Dr. David Jeremiah, Dr. Dobson, Dr. Alveda King, Sean Hannity, Ronald Reagan. Been quite a ride over these 42 plus years. 21,000 interviews, that's a big milestone. It's huge. Welcome back, and happy Tuesday to you. Well, the Middle East is another place. It's got all kinds of things, and so let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get caught up.
This is CBN Newswatch. helping patients lose unwanted pounds, address type 2 diabetes, and reduce the risk of deadly heart problems. Doctors view these prescription weight loss medications as game changers. You may have heard of Ozempic or Wegovy, and now there are Mounjaro and Zepbound. Studies show these drugs can help users lose an average of between 5 and 20% of their body weight, even if patients have had many unsuccessful attempts.
Because I've tried it for 25 years, and something is out there that can help.
Kelly Burns credits Zepbound for helping her lose nearly 100 pounds.
I get upset when I hear, people say, oh, well, diet. I see that all the time. Just go on a diet, exercise. Maybe you won't be so heavy. And that is not how it works. It's not how it works. Some people need help, like myself.
All 4 drugs target the body's hormones to increase the feeling of fullness, decrease hunger, and slow the GI tract. They're FDA approved to treat type 2 diabetes, obesity, or both. The drug company Novo Nordisk makes Ozempic and Wegovy, which contain the active ingredient semaglutide that targets one hormone. Eli Lilly's Mounjaro and Zepbound contain tirzepatide, which targets 2 hormones, and research suggests they lead to more dramatic weight loss. All 4 drugs are administered through weekly injections. Many patients pay over $1,000 a month out of pocket for the treatments. Despite the cost, desire is leading to drug shortages.
Fact of the matter is, there's a lot of factors that go into the conditions of overweight and obesity. It's a complex, chronic condition. It's not as simple as eating less and moving more, so they do have a major role, but insurance does not oftentimes cover them. They're incredibly expensive, and they have to be managed by someone who's familiar with this class of medications.
Like all medications, these carry some possible side effects. The most common ones are nausea, constipation, and abdominal pain.
Doing my second shot of Mounjaro.
Heather Winterstein lost 92 pounds over 11 months, and that's not all.
It not only changed my weight, but it literally changed my health. I mean, going from having super high blood pressure, high cholesterol, being on 4 different medications for both of those conditions, also being pre-diabetic.
Research shows Ozempic and Wegovy lower the risk of death from heart attack or stroke by 20% after 3 years.
We're working with payers and insurance companies and employers, who are often the people who pay for medicines, to make sure they cover it for their patients, for their employees and their customers who are patients, so that they don't have to pay out of pocket. That's our goal.
I just hope that insurance companies catch up really quickly, because this is absolutely life-changing medication.
Well, itchy eyes, runny nose, and constant sneezing. 1 in 4 Americans suffers from seasonal allergies. I looked at ways to ease the misery. This time of year, pollen often becomes public enemy number 1, and it's floating all around, mainly from trees, grass, and weeds. Our level of discomfort often depends on where we live. Here in Virginia Beach, we really have a tough time because this is the 2nd worst city in America for seasonal allergies, right behind Wichita, Kansas. Rounding out the top 5, Greenville, South Carolina, Dallas, and Oklahoma City. The good news is you can find ways to minimize symptoms.
We all like that fresh spring air to come in, but what's in that air? Pollen. So keep that out.
That means staying inside, closing windows, and turning on the air conditioner. When you do go out, remember that pollen is a magnet and will stick to your clothes, hair, and skin. When you go back in the house, you can avoid spreading it by changing clothes and taking a shower.
I always tell my patients to keep an allergy-free zone in their house, and that should be the bedroom, because that's where you spend the most time and that's where you sleep.
Frequently wash your sheets in hot water, and pets can bring in pollen from the outside as well.
You want to take your pets, your loving animals, out of your bed, because that also is a slew of allergenic antigens that will cause allergic reactions and respiratory issues.
An air purifier can also help.
Use a HEPA filter with a carbon filtration system. That combination is the best to clean the air inside.
When it comes to treatment, experts say allergy shots tend to work best.
And it increases the immune system's tolerance. So over time, we can significantly decrease or even eliminate your symptoms altogether.
Patients start with a shot once a week, then taper off to once every 8 weeks.
All right, a little bit of a health update from CBN News. Okay, well, there you go. Interesting thing.
Everything you wanted to know about those drugs and even more.
And you notice what was missing in there?
What?
Was the medical benefits of mango essence. They didn't report on it.
You're right. It was not there.
Here's one of the benefits. It's called weather.
A look at our weather from Grange Co-op. With clear skies and temperatures starting to move back up, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny skies with daytime highs in the mid-80s for Vancouver and Portland and mid to upper 80s in Wilsonville and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a calm wind becoming north-northwest around 6 miles per hour this afternoon. More sunshine across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the mid-80s for Prineville, low 80s in Bend and near 79 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly sunny with a high this afternoon near 87. Early patchy fog along the Oregon coast, then clearing to sunny to mostly sunny skies with daytime highs in the mid to upper 60s for Coos Bay and Port Orford and mid-50s in Brookings. In Crescent City, mostly sunny and near 70. In southern Oregon, sunny with a chance of afternoon thunderstorm activity and daytime highs in the low 90s for Grants Pass and Medford and low to mid 80s for Ashland and Klamath Falls with a light west wind this afternoon. Into northern California, sunny with a chance of thunderstorms around Wairika and a high near 87. Sunny with highs in the mid 80s for Redding and Chico. Partly sunny in Sacramento with a high in the upper 70s. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then partly sunny in upper 60s in Santa Rosa. Partly sunny with a high near 69 in Napa. A slight chance of drizzle in San Francisco, then mostly cloudy, breezy in mid-60s. And today in San Jose, decreasing clouds in mid-70s. Your Tuesday weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, the sun is up. Hope you are too. And there it is, casting its beautiful rays over the Rogue Valley this morning. All right, this next little piece here is so interesting. I decided to play this, and only because something has happened. You know, last week I made the interesting comment that isn't it interesting that Jimmy Swaggart and John MacArthur both died in the same week.
Yeah.
And they're both sitting in heaven.
Right.
They couldn't be polar opposites theologically.
Right.
Okay. Is there something happening between the charismatics and the reformers?
Oh, I wonder.
This next clip is during the Jimmy Swaggart's 90th birthday celebration. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But Dr. Anthony George, the gentleman that followed Charles Stanley, was asked to come and speak at Jimmy Swaggart's 90th. Now, this is a couple of weeks before he passed away.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But Dr. Anthony George, the beginning of this story is so fascinating about him personally being impacted by Jimmy Swaggart and that of the late Charles Stanley. So here he just got introduced by Donnie Swaggart to come to his dad, Jimmy Swaggart's 90th birthday party and speak. So he just steps to the podium, and here it is.
Well, as a token Baptist in this bunch, I feel kind of like a 9-volt battery that got dropped into a nuclear reactor. I mean, there's power in this house today. When I was in the 11th grade, God did a special work in my life, and He called me to preach His Word. I was in a wonderful church that preached the Bible and encouraged me to share the gospel, but I was so hungry for everything I could get from God. And between Sunday and Wednesday services, I would find TV ministries to watch, and that's when I discovered Jimmy Swaggart Ministries. I could not get enough of Brother Swaggart's music and preaching. And I can remember sitting in the floor of our den in our house with tears streaming down my face watching his broadcast. The anointing was so real, it's as if it flowed through that TV screen, all over the heart of this 16-year-old kid who just wanted to serve God. It was shortly after I started watching him that I took some of the money I'd made at the grocery store where I worked and bought my first cassette at a Christian bookstore. It was titled Jimmy Swaggart, One More Time. I played that tape out so much in my senior year it broke. And that was almost 40 years ago, and to this day I still know every word of every song by heart. And throughout my years of ministry over on the Baptist side of things, I've been able to see that God used Brother Swaggart at the beginning of my ministry journey to help me understand and long for the awesome power of the Holy Spirit. And as a result, I don't think I've ever felt completely at home among Baptists. But after high school, I went to college and seminary, and I served as a pastor for 20 years until Dr. Charles Stanley called me one day and asked me to come serve as his associate pastor in 2012 at First Baptist Church of Atlanta. While his stated goal was for me to succeed him as pastor, he asked me if I would be willing to serve him until he sensed God leading him to retire or until God called him home. So for almost 9 years, it was the opportunity of my lifetime to serve him. We spent many hours together in those 9 years, traveling and sharing meals and praying and watching every World War II movie ever made. But what I loved most were his stories. I heard them all, and I heard them all many, many times. But the first time I heard one story in particular, it stood out above the rest. It was his story about the role that Jimmy Swaggart had played in his life. He had followed Brother Swaggart's ministry from the beginning and was filled with admiration for how Brother Swaggart used radio and television to get the gospel around the world. It was a model that Dr. Stanley wanted to follow, and in many ways, In Touch was modeled directly after Jimmy Swaggart Ministries. Dr. Stanley told me many times how he agonized in watching Brother Swaggart endure some very fierce storms of life. And then as time passed, Dr. Stanley found himself being overcome by his own personal storm. His wife, who had stopped attending church with him for several years and had even moved out of their home, filed for divorce. That was a story which the media and those who despised the gospel were all too willing to turn into a spectacle. His wife's attorney even used the media to turn public opinion against Dr. Stanley, and it could have easily been his undoing. It was hard for him to talk about this season of his life without crying. So his marriage crumbled. His personal life became a daily headline. The leaders of the Baptist denomination told him to quit. Most of the deacons at First Baptist told him to quit. Almost half of the church thought he should quit. Members of his own family told him to quit. It was the dark night of his soul. Those days on Sunday mornings, waking up alone and getting ready for church, it was a lonely and painful time when Satan would show up and whisper in his ears, "Charles, you're all alone. Charles, you're doomed. Charles, it's over. Just give up." And he would think to himself, "I cannot do this." But through the fear and through so many tears, he would press play, and his CDs of Jimmy Swaggart would fill the room where he was getting dressed. Somehow that sweet anointing, the Holy Spirit, would impart to Dr. Stanley the strength to get into his car, make that lonely drive from his house in the suburbs down to that large historic church A church filled not only with worshipers, but with spectators who were gawking at what seemed to be his personal demise. And Dr. Stanley told me so many times that what he was thinking during that horrible season, over and over and over again, he would say to himself, if Jimmy Swaggart kept going, then I can too. Then I can too.
All right.
Wow.
We'll play the other half of that coming up later.
All right.
It's pretty powerful.
Wow.
You got one of the leading communicators in the Baptist church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking at one of the leading charismatic pastor's 90th birthday.
Amazing.
It's an amazing thing. Yeah. And you kind of wonder, is God doing something? And we need to back off and be a little bit more patient with one another. We can get along, and we should. We'll be right back.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Chris Silva understands your home and your commercial buildings are two of the largest investments most people make in a lifetime. One is for your family, the other is to support your family financially. That is why Chris Silva Painting goes the extra mile to protect both homes and commercial buildings with proper painting preparation and high-quality primers and paints. Serving Southern Oregon since 2006, this family-owned and operated business has painted over 1,000 homes. Chris Silva Painting offers an industry-leading 5-year warranty that covers materials and labor on all painting projects work for both residential and commercial buildings, both interior and exterior painting. Chris and his crew are courteous, they are efficient, organized, timely, and clean. Chris Silva Painting also offers military discounts. At Chris Silva Painting, our mission statement is to bring Christ's heart and principles to our customers and our job sites. We do that with honesty, integrity, and hard work. We don't cut corners, we paint them. CCB number 176097. Chris Silva Painting, 541-890-3960. Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
Good morning to you. 9 minutes before the hour. Well, an interim U.S. attorney from the District of Columbia, that's that little place called D.C. that we want to put a moat around.
Yeah, that one.
Or DMZ zone.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
DMZ. Right. That was the best one.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, apparently they announced an indictment of a former Voice of America employee.
Yeah.
Now, that's in under the microscope.
Right.
Well, I think that's getting cut.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, this employee is being investigated and indicted for threatening Congresswoman Green.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are taking a stand against those individuals who seek to threaten and intimidate public officials. This morning, the United States Capitol Police executed an arrest warrant resulting in the arrest of an individual by the name of Seth Jason, who is 64 years old. He resides in Maryland, and they also seized a laptop, several telephones, an iPad, as well as thumb drives. Now, Jason is charged with threatening to murder Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, as well as members of her family. The threats were repeatedly and continuously made from October of 2023 through the end of January this year. Now, the quotes included statements like, I'm looking forward to your book signing. We are all armed and ready to take care of you. We're coming after you and your staff, and we are locked and loaded. We're going to take you all out. We've got our AK-47s. You're going to get one between the eyes. Bam, bam, bam. Also threatened were all of the staff at the Congresswoman's office, as well as the staff members' families. Now, this case is even more egregious because the individual, Seth Jason, is a rogue former full-time federal government employee at Voice of America. And he actually used phones located in the control rooms where broadcasters were reporting. And Voice of America, by the way, which is an organization that reaches millions around the world and apparently communicates in 49 different languages. Now, through the leadership of President Trump, this sprawling federal bureaucracy is being held accountable, including through the work of Kari Lake, who is senior advisor to the U.S. Agency for Global Media, which oversees Voice of America.
Wow. Wow.
Well, it just shows you just how corrupt our government is across the board, and this weeding out is painful.
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine having those kind of employees inside on the government payroll in an agency that's supposed to be advocating the benefits of America when they were actually doing just the opposite, tearing America down.
Right.
So anyway, there you go.
Wow. It's pretty amazing.
Right.
All right. Well, we know that kids love gaming, but they're not alone. Check this out.
Kids these days, right? Always gaming, never outside. But don't tell that to Michelle Statham, or as her 110,000 Twitch followers know her, Tactical Grandma. At age 60, this Washington grandmother spends her free time sniping enemies in Call of Duty. And she's good at it, raising thousands for charity and showing the world that gaming isn't just for the young. And she's not alone either. Around 57 million Americans over the age of 50 play video games, and research suggests it's good for them, helping with memory, reaction time, and even brain health in some cases. People like Michelle and Will, a 72-year-old Navy vet who games despite a cranial injury, prove that you're never too old to pick up a controller.
How about that?
Well, okay, I understand the psychological benefits of it, but it's also glorifying killing.
Well, and not all gaming are killing games, and so there are other things available. The warfare games isn't something that attracts me. I only have one thing that draws me in once in a while, and I got into it when I was laid up really hardcore, for many weeks. Yeah. I got into it a little bit.
Did you?
Yeah, it's online golf. I can't golf worth a lick in reality, so I hit a little white ball on my screen. It's the only way I can do it well.
Boy, are we showing our age or what?
Oh boy! Yes.
Hebrews 2:18, for in that he himself has suffered, being tempted, he is able to aid those who are tempted. He understands it, and he'll help you through it.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express. Breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
Where big ideas grow.
With the words, "Behold, a sower went out to sow," Jesus begins the legendary Matthew 13 parable of the sower about God's word and draws attention to the need for good soil in order to bear fruit. This question of good soil motivates and challenges every Christian parent. Can good soil be nurtured in the lives of our children? A similar question was asked by the ancient Greeks concerning virtue. Drawing upon classical traditions like the Trivium and the liberal arts, classical Christian schools are coming alongside Christian parents to do just that, nurture good soil and virtue. Now in our 8th year serving Jackson County, Knox Academy, the Rogue Valley Zone K-12 classical Christian school, is relocating to downtown Medford in order to better assist parents as they educate their children. We are currently enrolling students for the 25-26 school year. Visit us at knoxmedford.com for more information. Invest in a future with a strong connection to the past for good soil, deep roots, and fruit at knoxmedford.com.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
Wake up to Friends in the Morning, Perry and Jerry. Weekdays on Mornings on the Dove. Encouraging and informative, the Dove TV.
Well, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. This is where it happens because Jerry Bilden's here. When he's here, it happens. Somehow his presence just makes things happen. That's the new bumper sticker. Jerry happens. What do you think of that one?
Somebody said Jerry happened on a different channel.
Yeah, Jerry happened. There we go. Yeah, right. Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Beautiful weather, cool evenings. Boy, it was so refreshing. And we'll see a little tick up in the temperature and then a tick down. Mm-hmm. But seasonally very pleasant out there. So beautiful. A lot going on in the news. Wow, the headlines are revolving doors. We'll bring you a few here in a few moments. What's up?
Well, speaking of nice weather and easy sleeping, oh man, it was nice. But it's National Hammock Day. All right. Encouraging everyone to relax in the shade by creating a tranquil napping space. Do you have a hammock?
I used to.
Okay.
But they're great. Don't get me wrong. They can be a little dangerous getting in and out of them.
Yeah, especially for old people.
Ooh.
Yes. I've seen some interesting hammock fails on social media.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
There you go.
Pretty entertaining. But they date back thousands of years back to Central America, protecting people from the ground and animals. However, the netted bed didn't find its way into Europe until explorers brought it back in the 17th century, and then they started using it on their sailing ships.
I was going to say they were boat things.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you have a hammock, pull it out and use it. Have a good day. It's also National Mango Day. Now, I didn't realize there were hundreds of varieties of mangoes, and on average, a mango tree can grow 131 feet tall. That is a tall mango tree. Do you have to go all the way up to the top to get the mangoes?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Are they like coconuts?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you use those lifts to get up there? How do you get it?
No, I think they don't. They're not. I think they're like a pear.
Okay, all right. And also, they grow very old. Mango trees can grow up to 300 years old. So, do they produce fruit that whole time? I don't know. We're gonna have to go a little deeper into this, I guess. And then when you're done having mangoes, have some Panucci fudge.
recognizing the creamy candy with an Italian name, and if you like maple flavor, this nut-filled fudge is for you. Panucci has origins in Portugal, becoming popular in New England during the 1700s among Portuguese whaling families. This sweet treat is considered the oldest fudge ever created. It includes brown sugar, butter, vanilla, and milk. Some people add pecans or other nuts, especially if making candy in the form of panucci, and I don't know what that means. I thought it was the style of fudge, but lighter in color than traditional fudge. It tastes like maple thanks to the brown sugar. It sounds good. I don't know if I've had it. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. We may have, just didn't know it.
I'm sure your tongue will enjoy it, because your tongue has a very important, or a number of functions, but did you know that your tongue is the only muscle in your body that's attached at only one end? It is connected to the hyoid bone located in your neck. It is also the only muscle in your body that doesn't move with your skeletal system, because all of your other muscles are attached on both ends to your skeletal system. Our tongue is kind of free floating out there. That can get you in trouble too, because it has obviously a number of functions. Apart from flexibility, it's also involved in various essential functions like taste perception, swallowing, and speech production. And that's where the problem can come in, because I have found that my tongue can be faster than my brain.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever had that instance where I'm talking to Pam and I say something and then I immediately think, did that actually come out of my mouth? I'm going to spend the next number of hours getting out of this hole.
Yeah.
And, pause and reflect a little bit before your tongue engages.
Well, it's the only member of your body that's mentioned in the Bible, other than your heart.
Okay, and how is it mentioned?
It says it's the most unruly member.
Yes, it can be.
It's your most unruly member.
It can.
Now, you have the problem of speaking, then thinking?
Yeah. Like I said, my tongue gets a little ahead of my brain.
See, well, I have the other problem.
What's that?
I can't get it out. My brain's going like crazy. I can't get it out. And you got the other problem?
Yeah. And Pam's got a list of it, too.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Does Pam know that there's a big screen in your doghouse?
Oh.
I mean, she's never been in there, right?
No, I don't let her in there.
So you have a hammock and a big screen in there, don't you? Where you enjoy your mango essence? Okay, well,
mango essence is great. Those little sparkling waters are wonderful.
The saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging.
Yeah, let's stop right now.
All right, let's go. He does. He turns it into men perfume, I guess.
Don't. A look at our weather from Grange Co-op. With clear skies and temperatures starting to move back up, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny skies with daytime highs in the mid-80s for Vancouver and Portland, and mid to upper 80s in Wilsonville and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a calm wind becoming north-northwest around 6 miles per hour this afternoon. More sunshine across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the mid-80s for Prineville, low 80s in Bend and near 79 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly sunny with a high this afternoon near 87. Early patchy fog along the Oregon coast, then clearing to sunny to mostly sunny skies with daytime highs in the mid to upper 60s for Coos Bay and Port Orford and mid-50s in Brookings. In Crescent City, mostly sunny and near 70. In southern Oregon, sunny with a chance of afternoon thunderstorm activity and daytime highs in the low 90s for Grants Pass and Medford and low to mid 80s for Ashland and Klamath Falls with a light west wind this afternoon. Into Northern California, sunny with a chance of thunderstorms around Wairika and a high near 87. Sunny with highs in the mid-80s for Redding and Chico. Partly sunny in Sacramento with a high in the upper 70s. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then partly sunny in upper 60s in Santa Rosa. Partly sunny with a high near 69 in Napa. A slight chance of drizzle in San Francisco, then mostly cloudy, breezy in mid-60s. And today in San Jose, decreasing clouds in mid-70s. Your Tuesday weather from Grange Co-op.
Beautiful picture of southern Oregon this morning. Clear skies and really gorgeous out there, and the temperature is very pleasant. Okay, but you can also see that the dominant color is brown.
Yeah, and we still have fire danger and certainly smoke around the edges, but still relatively clear today, so enjoy your day. It's pretty nice out there. Well, something that's tough to avoid in our lives are dark times, and we all go through them. Dr. David Jeremiah points out that when things seem their darkest, God is right there, and He has a purpose for what's going on.
The brothers sold Joseph into slavery thinking they had shut him up and his dreams were over. But you know what happened? In doing what they did, they made his dreams come true. In seeking to defeat God's purposes, they helped in their fulfillment. Let's turn to Psalm 105 and verse 16. And notice how this paragraph summarizes what happened to Joseph's life. Moreover, God called for a famine in the land. He destroyed all the provision of bread, and he sent a man before them, Joseph, who was sold as a slave. They hurt his feet with fetters. He was laid in irons until the time that his word came to pass. And the word of the Lord tested him. The king sent and released him. The ruler of the people let him go free. He made him lord of his house and ruler of all his possessions, to bind his princes at his pleasure and teach his elders wisdom. If you read that paragraph, you see God's perspective on this. God sent him before them. He prepared all of this. This was providential on God's part. The Bible tells you what happened to Joseph when he was taken away. You think, well, what if the story ended when he was sold as a slave? The story didn't end there. The Bible tells you what happened. Behind the scenes, God is at work. So if you're going through a difficult and confusing time and you're asking yourself in your mind, God, what are you doing? Remember that if you walk with God, God's purpose will be resolved in this life or in the next. Often we only see his hand in hindsight. Right now, it may seem like betrayal and hurt and confusion are dominating your life. But his grand design will eventually come to light, and you will trust him. And it may seem like the dark clouds hover over you, but the Lord is at work in your life.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and
that's called faith.
It is faith, and sometimes you just can't see it until you're on the other side of it. And you look back and you think, oh my goodness, he was there the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning to you. 10 minutes past the hour. Taking a look at some of the top stories. There's multiple ones, and I just don't want to. Probably by now you heard all of the rant of Hunter Biden. He only knows one word.
Boy, does he.
And he's using it as an adjective, as a noun, as a verb.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. And you got to ask the question, why in the world did you ever give the interview?
Yeah.
What were you trying to say here?
Yes.
It's pretty bad. Okay. The president has filed a lawsuit against Wall Street Journal and Murdoch for $10 billion. And he's not allowing the Wall Street Journal journalists to travel with him to Scotland on board Air Force One. He's basically removed them from the press pool.
Wow.
That's a bad day at the office.
It's a bad day.
And the president, again, has taken the United States out of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization, which is a suburb or a subsection of the UN. He's done it before, he's done it again. He said, just unlike the direction of the organization, we're out.
Yeah, good.
In the meantime, Iran's foreign minister gave an interview to Bret Baier on Fox. Now, this is really interesting because he didn't meet with any governmental officials.
Yeah.
He goes right to our media.
Yeah, right.
And he selected Bret Baier to do this, his program called Special Report, to give an exclusive interview about Iran's nuclear ambitions. And here's what he had to say.
It's an achievement of our own scientists. And now, more than that, it is a question of national pride. Our enrichment is so dear to us. We are ready to engage into negotiation to make sure that our enrichment is only for peaceful purposes. We prefer a negotiated solution.
Right.
We are not ready to give up something which is now a matter of dignity for the Iranian people, a matter of national pride. So rest assured that we want to continue our enrichment, but of course we prefer a negotiated solution for that.
Well, only one question comes out of this. Do you believe it's for peaceful purposes?
Absolutely not. The level of enrichment that they're doing is higher than what they need for their intended purpose, and only is for folks who want to make weapons.
So, what do we do with that? And again, not knowing all the inside intelligence, it looks like to me further action will be needed. And the question is, does the United States do it, or does the United States work with Israel to do it?
Yeah, I have a question for you. Why did he take this to Brett Baird instead of go through a government entity? Why did he bring this out into our news media?
Well, there's one thing Iran does very, very well, and that is propaganda.
Yeah.
You know, had it gone just to an official, it wouldn't have got. He's sending a message to the president through the American press and the American people.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And basically, it's a bullying tactic.
Yep.
And the question is, they have met a bigger bully. It's the bully battle. I don't look. It just seems to me further action is going to be taken. What we don't know yet, and could this ultimately result in a regime change? So far, what they've done in Iran was set the scene for a revolution that doesn't seem to be occurring right now, because what little power the regime has left is threatening their citizens.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. On another note, the president is withholding $2.6 billion in research money to Harvard. And Harvard's a little upset about it. They've decided to sue. And lo and behold, a rogue judge, one of these district judges, stuck their nose in it. So we'll see where this goes. It'll end up going to appeal. But here's the deal. The president's pulling money from universities that are still doing DEI stuff. And Harvard has just been unbelievable. Now, here's the thing about Harvard. $2.6 billion in research from the federal government. Researching what?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the other question is, do you have any idea how much money Harvard is sitting on in the bank before they ever accept a dime in tuition? Harvard is sitting on $52 billion in the bank.
Whoa.
$52 billion.
American dollars.
Now, these are, endowments and things like that build up. But why don't you just dip into your own fund and take care of yourself?
Yeah.
And why would somebody spend about $300,000, $400,000, or $500,000 to send your kid to a school that comes out with a degree that they can't even figure out what to do with it?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they can get a degree in protesting, I guess. Don't get me wrong. Harvard has some great schools. They have a medical school. They have a law school. They have all these things. And you go into those areas, okay, fine. You're going to get a Harvard law degree. Okay, but overall, it's become a bastion of nonsense.
Of liberalism and anti-Semitism to boot.
So anyway, we'll see where this goes. I think I had the gentleman on about higher ed nationwide. It's being shaken to the core, and it's time for that. So, all right, well, we'll take a quick break. The Pope in Oregon? What? We'll talk about that when we come back.
All right.
I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no.
Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
21,000 interviews, that's a big milestone. It's huge. My first adventure into anything that would have been political was the late Senator Mark Hatfield. And he said, I'm available for an interview. And so I ran in the studio and I interrupted the programming and I flipped the switch and went on live on the air with him. We had an interesting exchange. And that was kind of my first political interview of anybody that was of notoriety. Okay, welcome back. Happy Tuesday to you. Well, the Pope in Oregon, well, kind of.
Okay.
The Pope has appointed a new bishop in Oregon. 47-year-old, the Reverend Thomas Hennon, will become the youngest bishop in the United States to lead the diocese, which takes in a big portion of eastern Oregon. He accepted the position, taking charge of the diocese, which is a large area than his home state of Iowa, yet it only has about 35,000 people. 35,000 Catholics, excuse me.
Okay.
And so it's a big landmass, but not heavily populated. And he replaces former outgoing Bishop Liam Carey. Now, Father Carey, but Bishop Carey, when he was here in Medford, really a great guy. I got to know him pretty well. And a good servant. And so I'd like to know where he's going to go. But in comes 47-year-old Reverend Thomas Hennon, who says, quote, experience with ministries for the LGBTQ plus Catholics. Now, I looked into that and I thought, is he pro? What's he doing here?
Yeah, what is it?
Okay, apparently he feels compassionate that they want to reach these people
Okay.
with the gospel.
Yeah.
According to Catholicism, okay? And that when he does reach them, he basically says, in the first order of business, you have to remain abstinent.
Oh.
So this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's a new twist to it.
Yeah.
Let's show them some love and let's see what we can do to minister to them. But you got to knock it off.
I wonder how that's being received.
I don't know. But apparently he has some experience in this area. The problem is he just got assigned to a really country area.
Yeah.
He might be the only bishop that wears a cowboy hat to Mass and serves communion in cowboy boots with a big buckle. I mean, his diocese out there is pretty red.
And a little bit redneck.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway,
yeah.
but congratulations to look forward to meeting him someday. The youngest one in the United States. The next story is sad, really, really sad. But Malcolm Warner, he played Theo on the Huxtable Show, which is known as the late Cosby Show.
Yeah.
He was the son. He was on vacation with his family in Costa Rica and got caught in a riptide and drowned. This is really sad. Apparently, him and a few people, they'd get caught in this riptide. Apparently, he was fighting it, and that's what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And anyway, he drowned. And this is really sad. But I have to tell you, a very accomplished young actor.
Yeah.
He went on to do other roles, and he directed. He ended up being pretty successful.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
And apparently his relationship with Cosby through all of that was still very strong, in spite of all the things that Cosby has gone through.
Yeah.
They ended up being good friends. I have to say this, though. His role on The Cosby Show was hilarious. He did a magnificent job with that. But it's really, really sad. He drowned there in Costa Rica at the age of 54.
And this brings back Cosby memories. Pam was bringing up last night. We were talking a little bit about it in that we all watched it. We watched Cosby every week. We can remember just about every episode. We watch it so much. And isn't it amazing that these very successful programs like The Cosby Show are all in rerun somewhere right now, except The Cosby Show.
Yeah. It got pulled. And at one time, he was given the title of America's Dad.
Yes.
And so...
And everybody loved Jell-O. He did all the Jell-O ads, remember?
Yeah.
He did all the Jell-O ads.
But Theo played that role so well.
Oh, he was
the
good.
son
Yeah.
with 2 daughters, or 3 daughters, I forget how many. But some of his roles were hilarious. I mean, some of the scenes, the Monopoly scene, teaching him how to manage money, they were hilarious, but they had a point to it.
Yeah.
The day he came home with the earring and he was hiding it from his dad.
Yeah.
And finally it got infected, and his dad being a doctor, trying to impress the girlfriend and all this. So anyway, good roles, but sad.
Yeah.
To see him go. All right, let's take a look at Wall Street for this Tuesday morning. And thank you, Preston, with Smart Lawn. Believe me, you don't have to water it, edge it. Anyway, the Dow's up 33. The Nas is down 127, and the S&P is down almost 17 points. So kind of a mixed bag at the ringing of the bell this morning. Could be over. Maybe the president's leaving the United States for a couple of days, going to Scotland. Gold's back up to 34.21. Silver's hanging in there at 29. And, well, this said crude oil's down, but it looks like it's up from yesterday. $66.60 a barrel. That's what's going on.
Well, a lot of emphasis on immigration policy and enforcement in our country these days. And on Fox Business's Mornings with Maria, Texas Department of Public Safety Lieutenant Christopher Olivares discusses Tom Homan's call for the need for more detention housing for illegal migrants and a recent raid at a Home Depot in Sacramento, California.
Well, Tom Homan is absolutely correct. I mean, you got to have the bed capacity in order to house these criminals that are being apprehended or being arrested by ICE agents because of these mass deportations. If you don't have the bed facility or the bed capacity, then what ends up happening is you're going to have to release these individuals and then go back out there and look for them again. So Tom Homan is actually right. I mean, he knows what obviously this is a man of experience. He knows what he's saying. He knows the logistics, and that's why it's very important to have that bed capacity or detention capacity, in this case, to house these criminals. Going back to the Home Depot raid, whether it's a Home Depot or worksite enforcement, criminals are going to be in those environments. And we're seeing that right now. 50% of those that were apprehended did have lengthy criminal backgrounds. That's where you're going to find the worst of the worst. It's not just, looking for them in jails or those that are being released in jails. It's those that are being released into the communities. And this is what we're seeing right now, especially in these sanctuary cities and states, when you don't cooperate with ICE agents, when you can simply notify them when a criminal is being released from a jail so that an ICE agent can apprehend that criminal safely. Now they're having to go out into these communities. And now we're seeing that, where we're seeing these acts of violence, these threats, the assaults on ICE agents because of that. And again, you would think that those that are opposed to it will want safer communities, will want our law enforcement to be safe. But in this case, that is not the situation right now. And that's why we're seeing these threats escalate to over 830% towards ICE agents.
Wow.
Yeah. I still can't figure out, why haven't they shown how many people the previous administrations deported?
Yeah.
Why haven't they shown this? I mean, millions by Obama.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And Biden. And you kind of go, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
And, Clinton and Obama, they booted a lot of people out.
Oh, and they all spoke very strongly about it, about, controlled migration. Yeah.
Clinton, in his State of the Union address, twice came down on it hard.
Absolutely, yes.
So, I don't know.
It's different because it's who's doing it.
Of course.
Yeah, that's all it is.
We need to, okay, well. Hey, we're going to do something I don't think I've ever done before.
What?
When we come back.
Okay. All right.
Welcome to Rise Direct Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience where you're known by name, cared for like family, and treated with compassion. How is that possible? With an affordable, flat monthly membership, you receive unlimited primary care and minor urgent care visits. No insurance needed. At Rise Direct Primary Care, we offer a friendly, affordable healthcare experience where you get a whole hour with your provider. Located in Central Medford and accessible by phone or text, we can typically get you in the same or next day. We prescribe urgent urgent care medications directly from our office, saving you a trip and wait time at the pharmacy when you'd rather be at home getting better. Personalized medical care with a human touch. Rise Direct Primary Care is all about healing the sick with compassion and keeping the healthy healthy. Rise Direct Primary Care. We're here for you. Visit risehealthdpc.com or call or text us 541-827-8603. 541-827-8603.
At Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, we salute you. Military Mondays are here. Active duty military guard, reserve, and retired military members get 50% off their ticket price every Monday of the season. It's our way of saying thank you for your service. But heads up, this offer is only valid on Mondays. One discount per reservation and can't be booked online. Call to book your adventure today. Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, where adventure runs wild, and we honor our heroes. Some restrictions apply. Visit.
Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure purified water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
All right, welcome back. 28 minutes past the hour. Now, we've never done this before, but the reason I want to do this is because I think something has happened that we need to embrace as believers.
Okay.
Can we get along in spite of our theological differences? And should we get along in spite of our theological differences? Okay. And last hour we played a little bit of this, but I want to play the whole thing uninterrupted, so it's a little long here.
Okay.
But Dr. Anthony George, who took over from the late Charles Stanley, was asked to come and speak at Jimmy Swaggart's 90th birthday party, which happened to be only a couple of weeks before Jimmy Swaggart passed away.
Okay.
Last week, I made the comment, isn't it interesting that John MacArthur and Jimmy Swaggart died on the same week, and they're both sitting in heaven?
Yeah.
And you couldn't get more theologically polar opposites.
Right.
So you kind of ask yourself, does all this stuff that we do really matter? Can we agree on the essentials and respectfully disagree on the non-essentials? But when you hear the story of how two well-known Baptist preachers, Dr. Stanley and Dr. George, had an amazing relationship with one of the most outspoken charismatics in the country, Jimmy Swaggart, and how they loved each other and got along. And so here it is, Dr. Anthony George, he's just been introduced by Donnie Swaggart to come to his dad, Jimmy Swaggart's 90th birthday party, and speak.
Okay.
And I'm going to play the whole thing uninterrupted, and here it is.
Well, as a token Baptist in this bunch, I feel kind of like a 9-volt battery that got dropped into a nuclear reactor. I mean, there's power in this house today. When I was in the 11th grade, God did a special work in my life, and He called me to preach His word. I was in a wonderful church that preached the Bible and encouraged me to share the gospel, but I was so hungry for everything I could get from God. And between Sunday and Wednesday services, I would find TV ministries to watch, and that's when I discovered Jimmy Swaggart Ministries. I could not get enough of Brother Swaggart's music and preaching. And I can remember sitting in the floor of our den in our house with tears streaming down my face watching his broadcast. The anointing was so real, it's as if it flowed through that TV screen, all over the heart of this 16-year-old kid who just wanted to serve God. It was shortly after I started watching him that I took some of the money I'd made at the grocery store where I worked and bought my first cassette at a Christian bookstore. It was titled Jimmy Swaggart, One More Time. I played that tape out so much in my senior year it broke. And that was almost 40 years ago, and to this day I still know every word of every song by heart. And throughout my years of ministry over on the Baptist side of things, I've been able to see that God used Brother Swaggart at the beginning of my ministry journey to help me understand and long for the awesome power of the Holy Spirit. And as a result, I don't think I've ever felt completely at home among Baptists. But after high school, I went to college and seminary, and I served as a pastor for 20 years until Dr. Charles Stanley called me one day and asked me to come serve as his associate pastor in 2012 at First Baptist Church of Atlanta. While his stated goal was for me to succeed him as pastor, he asked me if I would be willing to serve him until he sensed God leading him to retire or until God called him home. So for almost 9 years, it was the opportunity of my lifetime to serve him. We spent many hours together in those 9 years, traveling and sharing meals and praying and watching every World War II movie ever made. But what I loved most were his stories. I heard them all, and I heard them all many, many times. But the first time I heard one story in particular, it stood out above the rest. It was his story about the role that Jimmy Swaggart had played in his life. He had followed Brother Swaggart's ministry from the beginning and was filled with admiration for how Brother Swaggart used radio and television to get the gospel around the world. It was a model that Dr. Stanley wanted to follow, and in many ways, In Touch was modeled directly after Jimmy Swaggart Ministries. Dr. Stanley told me many times how he agonized in watching Brother Swaggart endure some very fierce storms of life. And then as time passed, Dr. Stanley found himself being overcome by his own personal storm. His wife, who had stopped attending church with him for several years and had even moved out of their home, filed for divorce. That was a story which the media and those who despised the gospel were all too willing to turn into a spectacle. His wife's attorney even used the media to turn public opinion against Dr. Stanley, and it could have easily been his undoing. It was hard for him to talk about this season of his life without crying. So his marriage crumbled. His personal life became a daily headline. The leaders of the Baptist denomination told him to quit. Most of the deacons at First Baptist told him to quit. Almost half of the church thought he should quit. Members of his own family told him to quit. It was the dark night of his soul. Those days on Sunday mornings, waking up alone and getting ready for church, it was a lonely and painful time when Satan would show up and whisper in his ears, "Charles, you're all alone. Charles, you're doomed. Charles, it's over. Just give up." And he would think to himself, "I cannot do this." But through the fear and through so many tears, he would press play, and his CDs of Jimmy Swaggart would fill the room where he was getting dressed. Somehow that sweet anointing, the Holy Spirit, would impart to Dr. Stanley the strength to get into his car, make that lonely drive from his house in the suburbs down to that large historic church, a church filled not only with worshipers but with spectators who were gawking at what seemed to be his personal demise. And Dr. Stanley told me so many times that what he was thinking during that horrible season, over and over and over again, he would say to himself, "If Jimmy Swaggart kept going, then I can too. Then I can too." Brother Swaggart, at the time of Dr. Stanley's battle, your storm was in your rearview mirror. But the strength you got in your storm gave Dr. Stanley the strength he needed to get through his. And in short, sir, God used you to keep Charles Stanley on his feet and in the race. Thank you. So as Pastor Donnie said, when Dr. Stanley passed, I knew the first call I wanted to make was to Brother Swaggart. Now, nobody knows who I am. You certainly didn't. You probably wondered, why is he up here? In fact, someone asked me last night, how did you get invited? I said, I don't know. So I Googled Jimmy Swaggart Ministries, and I got the 1-800 number, and I called them and told them, Dr. Charles Stanley's passed away. Nobody knows me, but would you please put me through to Brother Swaggart? And they got me through to his office. And within several days, we had the service, and in walks Brother Swaggart, Sister Frances, Pastor Donnie, Pastor Gabe, and I knew that all was well. Dr. Jeremiah from California and Franklin Graham had both agreed to give eulogies during the service. And before we walked into the worship center, I told them, I said, now Brother Swaggart's actually out there in the auditorium. They said, are you kidding me? I said, no, he's here. And as we walked in, the music was filling the sanctuary. It was packed wall to wall. We were sitting right over here on the front row. And so Franklin walks across the entire front of the worship center. The service is already going on. He climbs over people to greet Brother Swaggart. And then he walks all the way back. And the next thing I know, Dr. Jeremiah is walking all the way across the front of the worship center, leaning over people to give an affectionate greeting to the Swaggart family. And once they were both back in their seat, and here I am, Elmer Fudd, beside these great giants, you know. Dr. Jeremiah leaned over to Franklin and said, I watch his channel all the time. And Franklin leaned over and said, I do too, it's awesome. In my remarks at that service, I shared the same story I shared with you about the impact Brother Swaggart had on Dr. Stanley. And I thanked him. And when I did, the entire room jumped to their feet and gave him a long ovation. So this was a room filled with not just members of the First Baptist Church of Atlanta, but with many Baptist pastors and many leaders of the Southern Baptist denomination. And here they are, all standing, wiping tears from their eyes. We were there to honor Dr. Stanley, but one of the most moving parts of the service was when we honored Jimmy Swaggart. That's what it was. Absolutely amazing. So Brother Swaggart, in addition to being an anointed musician, evangelist, Bible teacher, and visionary leader, you are also a major influence and encourager in the lives of kingdom leaders, heads of ministries, and pastors across the spectrum of God's great kingdom. We are here today because you never gave up. And because you never gave up, Charles Stanley realized he didn't need to give up. And because Charles Stanley didn't give up, I was blessed to get a call from him in his 80th year of life, asking me to come serve him in the final chapter of his life, and now to stand in his place, in his pulpit, as his successor at First Baptist. Brother Swaggart, you were a huge part of shaping my 16-year-old heart at the beginning of my ministry. And because of you, I am now in a place of ministry influence that I would have never imagined possible. Happy 90th birthday, you great man of God. Thank you for never giving up.
That's amazing. Wow.
Look, you almost need to watch that several times to get the full impact of it.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Yeah.
And I would hope that from that time, that message, we could realize something. We really do need each other.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree on some of the non-essentials, but at the end of the day, these two men, Dr. Charles Stanley and Jimmy Swaggart, both went through incidences in their life that should have taken them out. I remember them both very clearly, and they were messy. and the world being what it is just salivates for this kind of stuff to happen so that they could just wipe us out.
Yeah, loves it. Yep.
You couldn't theologically get two people that were so different on some of the non-essentials of the faith, but very solid on the essentials of the faith, and look how they cross-pollinated one another.
Yeah.
This ought to teach us something. Through our years here at the Dove, over 40-something years, 9 times we've tried to bring pastors together.
Oh, okay.
And to have a pastor's fellowship. And it always falls apart.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a little bit of an indictment, but the point being is this.
Wow.
Why can't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
The world is starving for us. And they look at us and realize we can't even get along among ourselves. Why should I join your church?
Right.
So there's a big message in what that was all about. And I hope that it finds root in a lot of hearts and souls. So, all right, let's check out the weather with Mr. Mango himself.
A look at our weather from Grange Co-op. With clear skies and temperatures starting to move back up, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, sunny skies with daytime highs in the mid-80s for Vancouver and Portland and mid to upper 80s in Wilsonville and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, with a calm wind becoming north-northwest around 6 miles per hour this afternoon. More sunshine across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the mid-80s for Prineville, low 80s in Bend and near 79 in Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly sunny with a high this afternoon near 87. Early patchy fog along the Oregon coast, then clearing to sunny to mostly sunny skies with daytime highs in the mid to upper 60s for Coos Bay and Port Orford and mid-50s in Brookings. In Crescent City, mostly sunny and near 70. In southern Oregon, sunny with a chance of afternoon thunderstorm activity and daytime highs in the low 90s for Grants Pass and Medford and low to mid 80s for Ashland and Klamath Falls with a light west wind this afternoon. Into Northern California, sunny with a chance of thunderstorms around Wairika and a high near 87. Sunny with highs in the mid-80s for Redding and Chico. Partly sunny in Sacramento with a high in the upper 70s. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then partly sunny in upper 60s in Santa Rosa. Partly sunny with a high near 69 in Napa. A slight chance of drizzle in San Francisco, then mostly cloudy, breezy in mid-60s. And today in San Jose, decreasing clouds in mid-70s. Your Tuesday weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, beautiful shot of southern Oregon there this morning, and clear skies, a little bit of smoke haze out there, not much, but the color is brown. It is dry.
Yeah, it is. Well, on this day in history, a movie premiered that has been called the worst movie ever made. but for the worst movie ever made, really? But for many people, it's so bad, it's good. Check it out.
July 22nd, 1959, a date etched into cult cinema history. That's when Plan 9 from Outer Space, directed by the infamous Ed Wood, premiered to the world. Starring Gregory Wolcott and featuring posthumous footage of horror legend Bela Lugosi, even though he had died before the film was shot, because before Lugosi's death in August of 1956, Wood had shot silent footage of Lugosi for another unfinished film which was inserted into Plan 9. The film tells the bizarre tale of aliens resurrecting the dead to stop humanity from building a doomsday weapon. With its wooden acting, visible strings, and cardboard gravestones, Plan 9 quickly gained notoriety. Not for its brilliance, but for being so bad, it's good. Often dubbed the worst film ever made, its charm lies in its ambition and unintentional hilarity. Movie review website Rotten Tomatoes consensus says, the epitome of so bad it's good cinema. Plan 9 from Outer Space is an unintentionally hilarious sci-fi thriller from anti-genius Ed Wood that is justifiably celebrated for its staggering ineptitude.
It just looked bad.
Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Really?
Yeah, baby. Watch
it's amazing what you can do for $250.
I'll bet it's not on Netflix.
It looks like that whole thing was shot in somebody's living room. Right? With bad lighting.
Yeah. And Bela Lugosi was in it, even though he wasn't alive at the time. What?
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
They should have
man.
called Barry. Barry could have come in there and shot a better shot than that. All right, we'll be right back.
We will fall together. When we rise.
Black Flag Armory offers top brand affordable rifles, shotguns, handguns, and gear. We also offer an array of classes emphasizing safety, self-defense, and accuracy. We strive to provide the absolute best possible experience when buying a firearm. Family friendly for every skill level, Black Flag Armory in Medford and Grants Pass. Online at blackflagarms.com or 541-499-0779. 541-499-0779. Since 1987, Four Seasons Nursery has been the gold standard in the green industry here in Southern Oregon. Tim Elbert and his friendly staff continue to offer the best plants and most accurate knowledge to create your dream landscape. At Four Seasons Nursery on Crater Lake Avenue, you can let your imagination run wild with a huge selection of all things plant and gardening for both inside and outside beautification. Whether it's a flower for your window seal, one of our beautifully renowned signature hanging baskets, or a complete landscape design for your entire property, Four Seasons Nursery can help you every step of the way with design services, workshops, and more. Let your imagination run wild as you immerse yourself in their nursery filled with beauty that knows no bounds. Four Seasons Nursery, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 1/2 mile north of Vilas Road, 541-779-5603, 541-779-5603.
Where does the Bible teach that a whole generation of believers around the world will be taken en masse into God's presence at the time of the rapture? Today, we will take you step by step through what the Bible reveals will happen at the moment of the rapture and how this mighty act of power will lead the world into the future events the Bible predicts will happen in the last days.
Join me for the John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV.
Okay, 11 minutes now before the hour. You know the old saying at the change of the election?
Uh-huh.
You know one of the terms that was used?
What?
There's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah.
You know, so it has its meaning.
Yeah, it sure does.
But he's appointing a lot of deputies all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And such is the case with the so-called interim U.S. attorney in the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
That happens to be Judge Jeannie.
Judge Jeannie, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was on the 5.
Uh-huh.
Right. She's a pretty smart gal.
Yeah.
And she has found her role.
Oh.
So she's coming up with an indictment of a former employee, federal employee of Voice of America, a radio broadcast, who was doing life threats against Representative Green. And here's Judge Jeannie telling us about it.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today we are taking a stand against those individuals who seek to threaten and intimidate public officials. This morning, the United States Capitol Police executed an arrest warrant resulting in the arrest of an individual by the name of Seth Jason, who's 64 years old. He resides in Maryland. And they also seized a laptop, several telephones, an iPad, as well as thumb drives. Now, Jason is charged with threatening to murder Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, as well as members of her family. The threats were repeatedly and continuously made from October of 2023 through the end of January this year. Now, the quotes included statements like, "I'm looking forward to your book signing. We are all armed and ready to take care of you. We're coming after you and your staff, and we are locked and loaded. We're going to take you all out. We've got our AK-47s. You're going to get one between the eyes. Bam, bam, bam." Also threatened were all of the staff at the Congresswoman's office, as well as the staff members' families. Now, this case is even more egregious because the individual, Seth Jason, is a rogue former full-time federal government employee at Voice of America. And he actually used phones located in the control rooms where broadcasters were reporting. And Voice of America, by the way, which is an organization that reaches millions around the world and apparently communicates in 49 different languages. Now, through the leadership of President Trump, this sprawling federal bureaucracy is being held accountable, including through the work of Kari Lake, who is senior advisor to the U.S. Agency for Global Media, which oversees Voice of America.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, how deep does some of this stuff go?
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see where this goes, but apparently he's being indicted. We'll go from there.
Yeah.
But this is Inside Voice of America, which is one of another programs that Doge uncovered that all this money is going to Voice of America and broadcasting supposedly the American message globally, but it's a tainted message.
Well, now it is, and you know, there was a day and age when Voice of America was relevant and really valuable, especially in the days of the Iron Curtain, of the Cold War. Right. But those days have passed, and it has now, it's less the Voice of America than it is the voice of the Democrat Party, and that's what it's turned into.
Okay.
So are they on the chopping block?
I think so.
Yeah?
We'll see what happens, but, you know, the pushback being what it is. But when you have employees inside this, you got to wonder if that ideology is brewing inside the organization.
This guy's in control rooms making phone. And that's the other thing that comes to mind on this thing, too, is what people do on social media now. The postings, it's like, don't people realize that there are actually people reading these things? And
yeah, it's scary.
Okay.
6 minutes away. Coming up, I got some great guests coming up. Hey, Tom Del Bacar will be back with us. Always fun to talk to him. He has such an amazing perspective. He's former chairman of the California Republican Party. And I think he and I might have been chairman when I was chairman of the Oregon Republican Party.
Yeah.
Anyway, he went on and became very successful. I'm just doing a little morning show. But he's all over Fox. He's everywhere.
Okay.
He's a great guy and a very strong Catholic. We'll talk to him about all kinds of things.
All right.
And then, how would you like to be a patriot and a descendant at the same time?
What?
Is it possible?
Huh.
Well, anyway, one of my guests calls himself that. We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit.
All right. Well, we know that a lot of kids are gamers, but guess what? Oh, boy. They are not alone.
Kids these days, right? Always gaming, never outside. But don't tell that to Michelle Statham, or as her 110,000 Twitch followers know her, Tactical Grandma. At age 60, this Washington grandmother spends her free time sniping enemies in Call of Duty. And she's good at it, raising thousands for charity and showing the world that gaming isn't just for the young. And she's not alone either. Around 57 million Americans over the age of 50 play video games. And research suggests it's good for them, helping with memory, reaction time, and even brain health in some cases. People like Michelle and Will, a 72-year-old Navy vet who games despite a cranial injury, prove that you're never too old to pick up a controller.
So do you play anything?
No, I'm not a gamer. Now, I know that you do a little bit. Steve Johnson was a gamer.
Yeah, I don't do any killing games.
Okay, you know, so it has a good side and a cautious side.
Yeah.
But you...
I play a little golf. It's called a WGT, World Golf Tournament, and you can interact. You play other players from around the world.
Really?
There are thousands of players.
Yeah.
And you can chat while you're golfing. It's the only thing that I disabled the chat.
Yeah.
I turned it off because people want to talk smack while you're golfing with them. They talk smack. I was like, no, I'm not even going to talk to you, so we'll just play.
Any holes in one?
I have one hole in one.
You do?
Right, about right here.
You've had a hole there for a long time.
Yeah, but you do a lot of things when you're down and out, and I was down and out. I was broken, so I had to do something.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. Stick around. We got some great guests. Be careful out there. Enjoy a beautiful, beautiful Southern Oregon day.
The right cleaning company matters. Choose Dust Plus Cleaning and Carpet Care, a family-owned company proudly serving Grants Pass and nearby communities for over 25 years. We're passionate about delivering the best, whether it's carpets, using purified water for no window spots, or carefully washing solar panels. We're committed to superb customer service from start to finish. Radiant spaces from local professionals. Request a free quote today.
Grange Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Answers with Bayless Conley. Answers to strengthen your faith to know God better.
He suffered for us in our place.
Watch Answers with Bayless Conley Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday on the Dove TV.
The next thing I know, I wake up and I'm in a field. And I look down at my body and I see that I'm covered in blood, but I had no sensation from the neck down.
Well, first I started praying because, we had lost a child 6 years before this. And so I'm like, God, you can't take my only daughter, my only child.
Tuesday on the 700 Club, right here on the Dove TV.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
You really have sort of the wireframe, if you will, the template of how to pray. First of all, it's your Father who art in heaven. Yes, He's God. Yes, He's all-powerful. But guess what? He's your Father. And He's your Father who loves you. Jesus said, it's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. We don't follow a stingy God. We don't follow an angry God. God is not mad at you. God is mad about you. And He can't keep His eyes off of you. And He wants to hear from you. My Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It's great to offer worship and praise to God when you pray. Thank Him for what He has already done and ask for His will in your life.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Focus today. Focusing on issues affecting you. Join Perry Atkinson weekdays only on the Dove TV.
Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and been looking forward to our guest today, Anton Chaikin. He is the author of a fascinating book. It's called Who Are We? Or Who We Are, excuse me. Got to get that right. Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress. It's a two-volume history that challenges the mainstream narrative of America's founding, development, and decline. He's also the co-author of George Bush, the unauthorized biography, and served as a history editor there and executive intelligence review from 95 to 2015. His father, a New York attorney, and famously fought the U.S. courts to expose and stop Wall Street and London's financial support of Hitler's dictatorship. Boy, there's quite a history here. So a couple of things. There is a picture of the cover of the book on the screen there, Who We Are. And again, he has a website, Anton Chaikin, CHAITKIN.com. There you go. Anton, good to see you. How are you, friend?
Hello. Very good to be with you, Perry.
Thank you. Where are you? Where are we Skyping you in from?
I'm about 35 miles west of Washington, D.C.
Just on the other side of the moat.
Yeah, that's right.
What provoked you to go back and write this?
Well, I noted that I'm a patriot and a dissenter, in the introduction to Volume 2. Volume 3 I'm starting to work on now. That takes it up to Kennedy. And I'm a patriot of the United States of America and the heritage of the good that it's done to ourselves and the world. And I'm a dissenter from the globalists, the transatlantic banking and intelligence faction that has usurped power over our country, and a dissenter against the crimes committed by that regime against our own people and against other countries. I believe in redemption strongly for this country and for other countries that may be committing crimes under this globalist empire of crime and deindustrialization. There's no future in it, and we do have a future if we look back at the great achievements that America has been responsible for: invention, discovery, and making a higher living standard than other countries for our people, along with committing some crimes. And we have to look at both sides of this and look to the good that we've done and say, let's do that in the future. Let's have a better world for the future. Looking at our past will give us the ability to do that.
Okay, there's a lot here. A couple of just basic questions, Anton, and that is, how did this globalist thinking creep its way into the United States, number one? And number two, do you think it's now finally being exposed for what it really is?
Well, this goes back to the founding of the country at a time when in our revolution we had Tories who didn't agree with having an independent country. What was the mission of those who led the revolution? Benjamin Franklin and George Washington, notably. They saw that in England there was an industrial revolution. Ben Franklin had been over there helping them do that, spark plug of it. And so we needed to get the powers of steam and of metalworking and of building up a high living standard based on manufacturing. And the British Empire said, no, we're not going to allow any other country to do that. We needed sovereignty. And this globalism is the enemy faction, the East India Company faction, the British Empire faction, and their friends who were in our country, within our country, first the Tories, maybe in Boston and South Carolina. They never agreed that the U.S. should rise and maintain its independence. And you see this throughout our country's history. Now, when Donald Trump ran for president in 2016, he shocked this globalist establishment, these usurpers who really took power after the murder of the Kennedy brothers. So he shocked them by saying, look, we're going to challenge their system. He didn't use the expression system, but he did this with the idea of having tariffs, protectionism to revive U.S. industry, and to normalize relations with Russia, to try to cancel the permanent war scenario of the empire. Both of these are part of the same reversion to U.S. national interest. And this establishment was panicking. By the establishment, you've got to be clear, we're talking about, for example, the intelligence agencies. These are the so-called Five Eyes, the joint agencies of the English-speaking countries now plus Israel. And this is not representing the interests of any of those countries, certainly not our country. It's a permanent war chaos scenario. What's the other part of that establishment? It's the banking system of offshore multinational banks and international banks. One of those, in particular, is a major criminal enterprise exposed as such by the U.S. Senate in 2012 that was looking at the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank, HSBC. which launders the drug money of the Mexican cartels. Senator Carl Levin in Michigan headed up the subcommittee that did the report. Barack Obama said, no, we can't close down this bank. We have to change the subject. They're responsible for crimes. Russia is also trying to go after them. There was a unit of the HSBC in Russia, the Heritage Bank over there, headed up by Browder, and Russia was prosecuting them for crimes that they were committing there. So U.S. and Russia had joint interests in going after this establishment banking operation that was poisoning and murdering Americans with the drug gangs and with the importation of drugs. The Russians were going after them too. So Barack Obama, as president in 2012, said, no, we're not going to shut down this bank. We're not going to withdraw their charter, as Senator Levin called for. What we're going to do is charge Russia with human rights violations specifically for going after this bank. And we will pass a law through the Congress called the Magnitsky Act, which singles out Russia, not communist Russia as in the old days, but post-communist Russia, singles them out for an attack that then escalated up to the present time. So he changed the subject to protect the globalism. Don't blame just Obama for this, and don't make this a partisan issue. What we're talking about is the control of our country by a system, intelligence, banking, and other parts, cultural, many parts of this, a system that is not our system. Our system is the Constitution. This system is wildly anti-Christian. It's against the Ten Commandments in every way. And we believe in our country in redemption. Our country should redeem itself, do good works now, normalize relations with these other countries, get our own affairs in order with our own credit from our country directed not by these banks but by our country's institutions to make sure we put credit into productive measures and into using tariffs and so forth. But we have to redeem ourselves now by breaking off from this globalist system, and that's the real issue there.
Okay, so couple things. We now are waking up to what you're talking about. I don't know if we're fully awake, but it's being exposed. It's being exposed.
It's been exposed. That's right. But we have to see what the people can do, and not just waiting to see whether President Trump follows through or whether he caves into it, or he's so much surrounded by these globalists that he can't do anything. We can't just wait for that and play spectators. We have to see our country as having a mission as we had with our founding and say we have a right to a high standard of living and not to be committing crimes by sending bombs all over the world to cause chaos and suffering. That's not our system. That's not our country.
First term of President Trump, he was surrounded by those people. Second term, he seems to have cleaned that crowd out, and he sees something. He may be seeing what you talk about. However, what is it about what Donald Trump saw as a young man before he became president that was such a threat to those who subscribe to this globalism?
Anybody who is doing anything, I'm not going to talk about Trump's early days. I don't know that much about it, but anyone who looks to the normal operations, the normal investments, the normal objectives of legitimate enterprise is a threat to the system. If they say, well, I need credit for that, I need to have the backup of the country, that's right there a threat. But let's look at right now. You're talking about whether we're on the right path. The globalist establishment within the Pentagon, within the intelligence services, within the media and so forth, and in England and elsewhere, they say that we must go back on the path that Biden was pursuing for a nuclear war threat. We have to go to the brink of nuclear war on every front. They want a 3-front war going on against Russia, against China, and against Iran, or some other place that they would press on. So you cannot simply react to each piece of news. How's Trump doing? Are the globalists on the run? Are we attacking them by shutting down the woke nonsense and the LGBT nonsense? No, you have to address the truth of the matter, that these people want to take down civilization. The very idea of industrial countries that aim at the higher living standard that industry and science and things like the space program and nuclear power and formerly the steam engine even, they don't want any of that because it creates a population that's skilled, that's literate, including farmers who are scientific. A scientific population that's independent-minded will not tolerate having these globalists and other tyrants like that running their lives. So that's it. That's it. These guys want to take down the whole civilization that we've achieved in 600 years since the Dark Ages. They don't agree with it. They want to lower the population by about 3/4 or 9/10. We can't let them have this power. And it's not enough to say, well, we opposed them on some cultural issue. You have to face the question of the power of our country to do good in the world. That's the issue. Do we have that right? We should go be in the Middle East helping develop nuclear power plants all over there. Joint programs for desalting water. That was Kennedy's program. That was Eisenhower's program. That was Franklin Roosevelt's program. The same idea was in Lincoln. The same idea really goes all the way back to our founding fathers. The hand of friendship to every country. If somebody attacks us like some terrorist group, then you have to handle that in a wise way. Don't just jump into conflict and fall into the trap that this satanic globalist faction, and they really are, that's their point of view. You can't just fall into their trap. You have to say, what's our mission? Who are we? How do we get influence? Our influence is in problem solving. We have the problem of, lack of fresh water. The world's covered with water. Move the rivers. Desalt the water. Lack of energy. Don't fall for the green agenda insofar as it's simply taking civilization down. That's stupid. We need intense energy for modern industrial civilization. We need hot energy for steel making and for the kind of rockets that you need to really do this deep space program. You have to accelerate to go to Mars all the way. And that takes a hot engine beyond chemical rockets. We used to be working on things like that.
Okay.
So that's our mission, is improvement. And we can't tolerate having globalists running our intelligence and our media and all of that.
Okay, let me take a quick break. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out his book, Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress. There's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen there. He does have a website, Anton Chaikin, and it's CHAITKIN.com is his website. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
With the words, "Behold, a sower went out to sow," Jesus begins the legendary Matthew 13 parable of the sower about God's word and draws attention to the need for good soil in order to bear fruit. This question of good soil motivates and challenges every Christian parent. Can good soil be nurtured in the lives of our children? A similar question was asked by the ancient Greeks concerning virtue. Drawing upon classical traditions like the trivium and the liberal arts, classical Christian schools are coming alongside Christian parents to do just that, nurture good soil and virtue. Now in our 8th year serving Jackson County, Knox Academy, the Rogue Valley's own K-12 classical Christian school, is relocating to downtown Medford in order to better assist parents as they educate their children. We are currently enrolling students for the 25-26 school year. Visit us at knoxmedford.com for more information. Invest in a future with a strong connection to the past for good soil, deep roots, and fruit at knoxmedford.com.
Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
Experience evangelism like never before. Way of the Master, an award-winning reality TV show tackling hard questions and bold street witnessing that will leave you inspired. Watch Thursdays and Fridays on the Dove TV. Pastor Robert Jeffers of the First Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas.
Not just about Christ Jesus, but that I might know him.
Helping you learn, grow, and get on the pathway to victory. Catch it 7 times every weekend on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. And our guest today is Anton Chaitkin, Chaitkin. He's the author of a book entitled Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress. You check that out online. He also has a website, and that is his name, AntonChaitkin.com. Boy, there's a lot here. Let me ask you this. I get what you're saying. I understand it. I think we've seen some progress on the exposure of this whole thing of globalism. Are we making any progress in pushing back?
We are, in the fact that the public is now known in our country and really activist populations throughout the world to be opposed to the wars and to the suppression of our normal human creativity that would lead to higher living standards. So the public doesn't want this regime. It's clear. That's how they voted. That's why they voted for Trump. And that's why they don't want the established the cliques that run both political parties that have run them for quite some time. Look, the thing that made our country quite unique was expressed very well in the Declaration of Independence. Our independence was based on a philosophical idea that all men are created equal and that God is the one who created them with rights. And that means that implies both the Christian idea that all men are of one blood in this world, and that we have a mission as a country to promote the welfare and betterment and improvement of our own people, and that we would look with, kindly eyes on similar rise of other countries. That's all implied in our world famous Declaration of Independence.
Right.
Teddy Roosevelt changed that. He didn't agree with Lincoln when Lincoln revived that idea. He said Teddy Roosevelt explicitly rejected as naive the idea that all men are created equal. And he said, we need an empire, and we will be a brother empire under the guidance of the British Empire, which he commended for ruling over these subject peoples. That was a grievous blow. Teddy Roosevelt and McKinley were enemies, deepest enemies. And I'll tell you that the anarchist movement, which was based in London, killed the president of the United States, McKinley, to put Teddy Roosevelt in power. This is very similar to the Lincoln assassination and similar to later on the Kennedy assassination in favor of these globalist the imperial faction. So Teddy Roosevelt put us on the wrong path. And this is something that both parties, Republicans and Democrats, who now revere Teddy Roosevelt as if he were some sort of strong American. He hated what America stood for, which is not war and conquest. Look at what we did with the Indians. When we killed Indians in a community of agricultural people, that was a crime. When we built up our nation coast to coast, that's not a crime. We needed to do that to establish the power of an independent republic. You didn't need to do the crime of slaughtering people. You know, we killed thousands more times many Indians as they killed white settlers. But Teddy Roosevelt boasted about it and said that's our system. Just like a leftist will say there's nothing else to the United States except killing Indians and enslaving black people. In my work and my research, I've shown the two factions in our country's history. The builders of our country, who were nationalists, who had a humane idea of building up a higher living standard, building steel industry, building electrical industry. This was never the bankers from Wall Street and London. It was nationalists who did these things. On the other side were the imperial faction, who said man is just a beast, and America is an upstart country that's spreading a dangerous philosophy that every human being on this earth is entitled to rise the way America is rising. And so these are the two factions all throughout our history. The imperial globalist faction, which is slave owners, northeastern financiers, and London, the city of London people, versus our side, who built all the industries. I've proved that never did any of these cruel speculators, like so-called robber barons, they did not build the industries. The industries were actually invented and built by patriots who were interested in not only in private profit. Yes, they needed that to do their job, but also they were interested in building up the power of the country. On the other side, they said, no, we should never have industrialized this country. And they don't want any other country to industrialize. That's the British Empire idea. So right now, should we say that China or Russia or Iran should not rise in their industrial and scientific power, and they shouldn't help Africa to do that? I think that that's wrong thinking. How about making the United States go back to rising? Get our power reestablished, our real influence, build us up, and then we take our place again as a leader of world thought. We have a beautiful constitution. We can share that with the rest of the world if we're actually adhering to it ourselves.
Okay, so
we have something to offer.
I'm understanding the essence of your argument. I really am. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is there seems to be, A, an awakening, B, a pushback. Granted, it's probably not at the speed you'd like to see or anybody else see, but it seems that the cover is being pulled back on globalism, and a lot of people don't like it, to your point. It's being exposed. I think probably climate change is one of the big things that is going to be exposed by all of this. It's interesting, though, when you look at the monetary side of things, the dollar's still pretty solid out there. And that's got to frustrate them to some extent, don't you think?
I think that the dollar is a refuge, just like gold is a refuge. But the real issue is what is the influence of the world? How do we establish the dollar as a powerful currency? When we set up the country, we didn't have our own money. The way this was established was by the Washington and Hamilton regime, administration, committing the United States to industrialize and build up the productive power of the country. You can only pay your debts if you're actually generating income based on real production and real profit, not simply skimming something off of loot.
No, I understand.
So if we return to our productive way of life, but that's a huge reconstruction job. We should be reconstructing this country and helping to repair the damage that our bombs have done in other countries as well.
Okay, but
we can redeem ourselves in this way. That will make the dollar give the dollar a permanent place in the world.
But aren't we beginning to do that, Anton? I mean, we're the tariff issue, wherever you are with that. But the point being is, we're bringing a lot of manufacturing back. We're bringing a lot of industrial complex back into the United States. It seems like the flow is switching in our favor.
What do we need to reestablish manufacturing? We need, first of all, state-of-the-art infrastructure.
Yeah.
Our trains that carry freight go 25 miles an hour. In China, they go 200 miles an hour. We do not have the the kind of energy grid, including nuclear power plants and industrial centers that we need. This is a huge program of credit, scientific progress, and tariffs as well. It's reciprocal benefit tariffs. All of those things are part of it, but you can't simply say that tariffs by themselves will do it. You have to say, look, we made a terrible error back in the 60s and 70s when we allowed these criminals to close down our manufacturing to seek cheap labor. We're not a cheap labor country. That's not to our benefit. It's not to the benefit of anybody to have cheap labor.
Well, listen, I'm out of time. Let me share to viewers and listeners. He puts this all together in his book, Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress. There's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen. He does have a website, Anton Chaitkin, CHAITKIN.com. Where can they get the book? Is the book online?
Yeah, sure. You can get Kindle or it's on Amazon, paperback or Kindle. The second volume just came out. It's 600 pages, 48 pages of pictures. This is a reference book for people that want to fight to get our country back, and it's for homeschoolers in particular. They'll really enjoy it.
Great.
The third volume will be out, I would say, by next year. I'm working very hard on getting this up through the 20th century.
Okay, good. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate firebrush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Okay, welcome back, and always honored to have time when we sit down with Tom Del Beccaro. He's the author of several books. His last one is called Lessons of the American Civilization. It's not a very lengthy book, but it's a powerful book, and I certainly encourage you to check it out. He's the former chairman of the California Republican Party. We share that dirty T-shirt. He's the author of 2 historical perspectives, The Divided Era and The New Conservative Paradigm. He is a columnist for Fox News, Fox Business, and Epoch Times, and he's the publisher of the politicalvanguard.com. Tom does have a website, tomdell.com is the place to go. Brother Tom, good to see you, friend. How are you?
Great to see you. Thanks so much for having me on. Real quick, if I could comment on your last guest in that book. And I talk about this in my book, The Lessons of the American Civilization. The left says America didn't start perfect, so thereafter nothing is good about it. When in fact the human experience, the whole point of the human experience, is this growth project, if you will, meaning you start somewhere and you anticipate and improve. And that's what America has consistently done. No democracy is static. Ancient Greek democracy wasn't static. It changed over time. The Roman Republic changed over time. America has constantly added to its democracy and allowed more to participate. The fallacy of the left, whether it's Marx thinking you reach a static point, or AOC thinking if you put in socialism, this will occur. The fallacy is to think that there is an end point. That's not what civilizations do. But what they do is they get really large governments that wind up ruining everybody's standard of living, and they haven't understood that either. So I think it's very interesting the last segment.
Yeah, I still processing that in my brain. There was a lot there. I get the general argument. Some of it I still got to process. By the way, a little bit of a sidebar as well. I so enjoyed your PowerPoint, the Total Government Burden Index. Wow.
Yeah, we'll talk about that again offline. That's a coming project. A lot to do.
Okay, we'll talk about that
there as well.
So much to talk about. Hey, well, quickly, I know that your faith is very strong. What do you think of your new Pope?
I like what he's doing. He continues to be a humble person. I like the fact that he's met with the Greek Orthodox Church leaders repeatedly. He's seeking to create consensus. He has stayed away from politics, so I like he's got a good start.
So who's going to give in? Are you going to go, is the Catholic Church going to go to the Eastern calendar, and is the Orthodox Church going to accept the Pope? I mean, that's the argument, right? Those two things?
Yeah, it's been around a couple of centuries or a millennium or so. I'm not sure we'll get there, but at the end of the day, they share more in common than they do not. And I like the fact that he's concentrating on people's souls, not their political ambitions.
One last question. Do you think he'll do his writings in English?
I think, well, you know, he put on a Chicago White Sox hat. If you would have told me in my lifetime, or let me put it a different way, if you don't believe in miracles, yet somehow there was a Pope with a White Sox hat on?
Okay, got it. All right, let's swing our attention back to some of the headlines. It's really interesting. As you know, Tulsi Gabbard has released evidence suggesting that the Obama-era administration was behind the whole Russia hoax post the election. This is really interesting. I did notice one thing, because when big stories like this break, I have a tendency to go to all the sources to see who's saying what. And it was very clear that legacy media didn't even touch this. And if you go to all the sites right at this very moment, it's gone. But what did you think of the story, and where do you think it's going?
Well, as you know, in my book, I talk about it is human nature for those in power to want to retain power. And I cited the examples in the book of Venice in 1310, when there was a challenge to the powers that be, that they created what is likely the West's first spy network to spy on any future coup attempts and to monitor what individuals are doing, if that doesn't sound familiar. The Queen of Naples was Marie Antoinette's sister. As soon as she saw what happened to her, she put in these measures to protect their power. So what I talk about in the book is that natural instinct, and that's really what you see going on in Washington, D.C. The Clappers and Brennans of the world do not care about freedom. They cared about their power. They are as far from Washington as you could George Washington as you could possibly be. So none of this surprised me. I talk a little bit about it in the book, but yes, we have known, we've had James Clapper's written notes for some time that it was Hillary's invention. And If you look at the calendar of events from November to James Comey trying to set up President Trump, James Comey trying to set up General Flynn, all of these activities. I'll tell you a story which most people don't know. I used to write for Forbes when it was owned by other than Steve Forbes. And I wrote a timeline at a Forbes piece of the Hillary investigation and how it was shut off quickly or run down quickly to exonerate her, and then what they did with Trump. I detailed everything, and I was fired for doing that because I exposed what the DOJ was doing and what the FBI and the DOJ were doing to save Hillary and to go after Trump. So I personally acutely know what efforts they have made to hold on to their power. We shouldn't be surprised by this, but when Franklin said, it's a republic, madam, if you can keep it, the most important word in that was you. You can keep it, because it is up to us individually, because all of history is an example of those in power, or almost always those in power, wanting to keep it.
I understand that 100%. I guess the question about this particular story breaking and the handling of it by the media yesterday and even today, does it go anywhere?
Well, you know, I had a social media post about how deadly silent the left was once she came out with this. For some reason, well, they weren't prepared. I would have assumed they would have all gotten their cabal together at one point or another saying, hey, when this comes out, here's our response. But they were silent because I think they caught them, Tulsi caught them by surprise. The left media, no shock. They're not going to give it any legs. But this does have legs. And so I'm not sure it's going to end up in a conviction, but the Republicans should expose it for all it's worth. And if the left media doesn't respond to it, they'll continue to go downhill and wind up in the same out-of-town bus as Stephen Colbert.
The one thing that could bring it national attention, even at the dismay of legacy media, is if former President Obama is subpoenaed. And there's talk about that. I mean, you cannot ignore a former president being subpoenaed to Congress to testify. That would have to be global news.
Yeah, and then he would try and say he has immunity, and then he would try and say, if that didn't work, that he has executive privilege. But the reality is, the myth of the Democrats saying they peacefully transition power is just that, a myth. Behind the curtain, they did everything they can to stop Trump's revolution, if you will. And so, yes, I agree with you. That will be an explosive moment. Honest journalists and future historians and even current historians will revel in the moment of how interesting it is. But you know, at the end of the day, it has to be exposed for everything it was. Because, Perry, I'm sure you saw, I think it was like 10 days ago, a poll came out, and the majority of Democrat voters still think Trump colluded with Russia.
Yeah. The other story that is interesting is circulating through the headlines, the Epstein story. The president and the attorney general tried to just say there's no there, but it came back around, and now to the point where the president's gone completely the other direction, ordering the grand jury testimony to be exposed. This is big, and I'm sure he wouldn't do that if he was somehow involved in there. He sees something we don't see. What's your take?
Well, as an attorney, I always try and manage my clients' expectations, and they have done it, right?
Yeah, right.
And they have done a horrific job of this. But this is a myth that has grown. How long has this story been percolating? Seems like forever, 20 years. And it's grown in mythology. Long ago, the mafia learned not to write down their crimes. If you ever watched the Kevin Costner movie, The Untouchables, the main witness was the accountant who had the whole book of all the crimes. Well, they don't do that anymore. Dershowitz, who has seen it all, has said that there is no book where he writes down all the crimes or says so-and-so's name and this is what they did. Now, some people may not believe Dershowitz. I do, and here's why. Because he's going to be around for another 15, 20 years, and he believes in his own, and he takes care of his own reputation. So why would he say something so radical? So I think he also said that there's no current office holders that dealt with Epstein. So I think it will embarrass some in the past, but I think this is, another social media post I said was, the people interested in this story, the hardcore people, will never be satisfied no matter how much comes out, because they'll always think something more is out there. And I'm afraid that something more will never tantalize them enough.
Well, there's one part of this now, just as you well know, in the last 24 hours, an assistant attorney general is going to go and interview Maxwell herself. I mean, that jumps over everything. That goes to the person who knows. And I don't know if a commune of her sentencing could be made if she testifies before Congress. But she is the one. She's the walking book. Well,
yes, that's true. That's how it is. It's usually a human being, right? Yeah. Which is why the mafia made a living off killing witnesses, right? So, again, but then you just brought up a point. Is she doing this to get that commuted sentence? And where does it go from there? I agree with the basic point that Trump's not involved. Dershowitz has said that as well. Not deeply involved. Yes, there's pictures with him, and the left-leaning media has trotted those pictures out. But I think at the end of the day, there's going to be less than people want to come out of this story. But because the Trump administration did not manage these expectations, they have to start uncovering and showing this stuff.
One other quick question, Tom, before I let this story go. I'm a little confused of the protocol here. So the president has ordered DOJ to release the grand jury testimony, but apparently that has to get a congressional approval and still go through the court. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. Grand jury testimony, I personally know this, is because of a book that I've written that will come out in the hopefully not too distance. Grand jury testimony is always sequestered and always needs a court order. So Trump saying that is only step one.
So why does Congress have to vote on it?
That part of it I don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because I saw where the speaker has delayed that until after the summer recess, and I go, what? There's a part of this I don't understand.
Build it up some more. Build it up some more.
Okay, is that what it is? Okay.
In the next episode of...
Let's get everybody ratched up and then throw water on it. Okay, let me take a quick break. TomDale.com is his website. There's quite a few books there to check out. Check out his book, The Lessons of the American Civil War. This is a great resource. Get it in your library. We'll be right back.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express. Breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
Wildfire season is coming. Are you ready? All it takes is one small ember to level a home. Reduce any fire hazards around your home and property to prevent an escaped fire from spreading out of control and to protect your home from an oncoming wildfire. It's called Defensible Space, and it works. Go to keeporegongreen.org to learn more.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
a ministry moment on the Dove.
When I was a teenager, I remember I was taken to Johns Hopkins Hospital for surgery. I was frightened at the idea of being paralyzed for the rest of my life. I was only a kid. Well, they pushed my gurney into the old hospital lobby and parked me at the foot of this big statue. I looked up breathless. It was a massive marble figure of Christ with outstretched arms. At its base were the words of Jesus from Matthew 11. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That day I was placed directly at the feet of Jesus, and I will never forget the warm embrace of his outstretched arms. I would replay that moment so many times, it became part of my healing. Friend, today, picture yourself at the feet of Christ, because he can lift your burden.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Okay, welcome back. Always a joy to have with us Tom Del Piccaro's with us, the author of a book, quite a few, but the one that you need right now is The Lessons of the American Civilization. There's a picture of the cover of the book. It's not a very lengthy book, but it's a powerful and a great resource book. He's also former chairman of the California Republican Party. He has other books out there, The Divided Era, The New Conservative Paradigm. He also is a columnist for Fox News, Fox Business, Epoch Times, and, of course, the publisher of the Political Vanguard. His website, tomdell.com. Tom, a couple other quick things before we run out of time. President Trump was pretty successful suing CBS for $20 billion. He ended up settling for north of $30 million. And he turned around and he's just doing this now to Wall Street Journal for $10 billion. What do you think?
I'm kind of not the biggest fan of this particular tactic. Look, everybody has a right to protect their own interests. I'm no fan of CBS in the sense that I don't think they're honest brokers. The Wall Street Journal, most people think it is a conservative newspaper, but its news feed, its news portion is actually left of center, and its editorial portion is slightly right of center. But at the end of the day, these organizations sometimes do things that are incomprehensible and journalistically dead wrong. And a lot of those dead wrongs happen against this particular president. And what is loved about him for so many people is that he fights back. And by fighting back, he causes changes within their organization. And maybe that'll benefit us all in the years to come.
In the meantime, the fallout at CBS continues. You heard, Stephen Colbert is obviously, the show's been canceled. Nice way of getting rid of somebody. But they gave him a 10-month warning, so he's going to be unfeathered starting last night. He already started in on this. But you and I know enough about media to know, all right, he's a high salary paid guy. The show was not pulling ratings. The show has its own budget, which is worth millions, of which he, as the host, can direct. Apparently, it was a total loss of ROI. But is this a trend of late-night television?
It is. Think about this. This show is losing $40 million. CBS is a publicly traded corporation. It's losing $40 million a year. Only the left would say, oh, you must let us continue to do this because it's free speech. As if CBS shareholders have to give them money to talk. No. You and I are old enough to remember Johnny Carson, and people hardly knew his politics. People still speculate what it was. He used to have really funny people on, like my favorite was Rodney Dangerfield. He had actors and actresses, writers, on, and people were, quote, entertained, end quote. They laughed before they went to bed. They didn't get riled up. And so, as you point out, late night show has become, because of the big networks, has become nothing but a shrill against the right, and they're paying for it. On the other hand, you have Gutfeld, who does it exceedingly well, very sarcastic, so they're very funny. They're certainly right of center, and he's capturing the other group. So yes, nighttime shows have become political. That may be here to stay, but once again, a big show on the left, whether it's radio, cable, or otherwise, is failing.
So I read the trades of our industry, being in this for all these years, and if you add up the 3 network nighttime shows ratings, it's not there.
No, they did. You remember when Alec Baldwin tried to do a national radio show and it collapsed? There just isn't an audience in TV or radio for anger. People just don't, the left doesn't tune into that. Now, part of that over the years, people thought, well, they have the nightly news to begin with. What do they need something else for, right? But, if the market is allowed to operate at all, and it is in this case, they just don't have the eyeballs. Part of it is that they're always against something. Part of it is there's a limit to political humor. Part of it is that all the left's promises have failed. I mean, they covered Russia forever, and they're still saying it. So people know better.
Do you miss Rush Limbaugh?
It's funny. Rush started in Sacramento, California, as you know.
Yeah, I managed the station you got to start at.
Yeah, so it's all your fault. So, Perry, I was going to ask you, what the hell happened to my career? Where you been? I could have been somebody.
No, listen, I did something really stupid. I came to Oregon when Rush Limbaugh was just starting at KFBK, but I managed that station for quite a while. And so, but that's where he got to start, and that's where he turned that town upside down.
Yeah, he was, he changed things. Prior to that, the history of media was basically very decentralized. It wasn't a powerful one person. There was CBS, ABC, NBC on TV, and talk radio became a power on the right because of him. There were people like you in the industry, but he just, he grew it up in a big hurry, and he's not replaceable any more than I think
the reason I bring that up,
Mora was.
The reason I bring that up, there seems to be, with all due respect, there is such a void in conservative talk radio today. It has become so sadistic, you can't even listen to it. And I monitor all of it because that's what we do for a living. But I listen to all of it and I go, gosh, there isn't any clarity anymore. It's just I think even the right's angry and they're not even sure what for.
It's funny you say that. My assessment of my own career has always been I don't throw enough bombs to get on to become really famous. I've always tried to get people to understand.
Yeah.
That's, I think, my mission. That's been afforded to me. And you're right. Limbaugh had a way of doing both, but he was also very principled. Mm-hmm. If you look at Tucker Carlson, and I may lose some viewers here for me, not for you, but if you look at Tucker Carlson, there isn't that intellectual rigor, and a lot on the right has just become throwing bombs back at him, and and that's not even winning the argument. This is what really concerns me in the next election cycle. What translates? Will the loyalty to Trump's revolution translate to whoever's next? I can't say that because whenever Trump's not on the ballot, things don't go the same for Republicans. So what comes next? And it's winning the argument is what has to continue. What did Maggie Thatcher say? First you win the argument, then you win the vote. And we're not doing sufficiently well at that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The only thing I was thinking about is President Trump isn't acting like he's a lame duck president by any means. He's on a mission. We know that. And I can't help but think that he is going to be very active in the next presidential election because his legacy is at stake. I just don't think he's going to go out the back door and go back to Mar-a-Lago. I think he's going to be very active on whoever the nominee is.
And he won't be pulling strings in the background with the intelligence agencies either.
I'm just trying to put my head around that story. All the dots point towards it's true. Apparently there's 100 documents that support this evidence that Obama administration actually coerced taking him out after he was elected, and they got caught. Quickly, I got about a minute. Are the statute of limitations allow them to go free, or can they be brought up on something?
Well, for what they did, it was a string of acts, and it's the last act draws everything back into it. The last act was in the statute of limitations, so you can bring it all back in. John Solomon on my podcast, Politics and Perspective, talked about that. So yes, there's the possibility, but there's always the question on the right, is there the will to see something like this through? Bill Barr didn't do it. Others haven't. Will Pam Bondi? That will be the question.
Okay. Well, let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out Tom's website, tomdale.com. Get a copy of his book, The Lessons of the American Civilization. You can Google that and get it because it's really a tool. It's a resource. You'll end up probably making some comments in the margins. Check out his other books, The Divided Era, and then The New Conservative Paradigm. And then, of course, look for his publications, Fox News, Fox Business, Epoch Times. And then you can go to politicalvanguard.com as well. Thank you, Tom. Certainly enjoy our friendship, and I enjoy your comments. Thank you, buddy. God bless you, pal.
And you look great. You must have managed that station at 17. You just look great.
I was 18.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
Tom.
care.
See you later.
I'm holding the many prayer requests that arrive here at the Dove. We're grateful that you include us with your prayer needs. As a staff, know that we join you and pray over your requests for God's help. Have a prayer need? Let us know by going to thedove.us.
Hellgate Jetboat Excursions is throwing it back every Thursday. Book one quick and scenic excursion at regular price and get the second ticket for only $19.59 every Thursday. Glide inches above the river, see the native wildlife, and experience the majestic views of the legendary Hellgate Canyon. Don't miss the best of the Pacific Northwest with our 2-hour excursion. It's Throwback Thursday all season long with our buy one, get one for $19.59. Call 541-479-7204 to book. Some restrictions apply. Visit hellgate.com for details.
Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
Hey, it's your old car here. Remember me? Remember us? You barely even turn me on anymore. It's clear you don't need me, but that's perfectly fine, my friend, because you can choose to give this old car new purpose and donate. There are